This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Tracy James and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are, well, off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, Brendan Crates joins me in talking about a man who does whatever a spider can. Spinning webs, any size, catching thieves, just like flies. That's right, we're talking about Spider-Man. Welcome!
Thank you for having me. I'm not Spider-Man. I'm Brendan, but yeah, I'm very excited about this one.
Yes,
particularly this.
Yeah, because you love Spider-Man.
I mean, I think I love Spider-Man the ordinary amount that people love Spider-Man. Like, I mean, yes, maybe I'm wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt and I have a Spider-Man room in my house, and maybe at my wedding I walked out to the Spider-Man theme, and sure, maybe I named my son Peter Parker. But I think that's just things that everybody does, right?
Definitely. Very, very normal things. Very normal things.
Normal amount of love for Spider-Man.
How many action figures and figurines of Spider-Man do you have?
That would mean that I had counted them in recent history, and more than fits on a large shelf. So a lot. I have, at one point, I had every single costume, like some sort of representation of every single costume Spider-Man has ever worn in action figure form, and I'm still mostly there. I think there's been a few releases that I've missed that I probably need to pick up, but then there's other ones like the Black Suit Spider-Man, which I've bought 3 of those this year. So, so it kind of, because they released like a Secret Wars one, which was based on the comic book cover. They released the black suit from the Spider-Man 2 game, which it looks different. Like, it's kind of all wobbly. I got an ultimate black suit Spider-Man, and these are all within like the last month or so. And I just ordered they're doing Spider-Man 3 Spider-Man. So I just ordered the black suit version of that as well. Okay. So I've got a few.
You've got a few. I've got a few.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're both on the exact same level of liking of Spider-Man for sure. I mean,
absolutely normal amount that everyone likes.
I actually don't think, despite being a collector, I don't think I have any Spider-Man collectibles. I have like a few comic books and stuff, and of course, we're talking about Off My Shelf, so I have a couple of the DVDs.
But I was going to say, which version of the Spider-Man 1 DVD do you have?
I have the...
Is it the big fold-out one?
No, it's just like the regular one. Widescreen special edition. It doesn't even have like the sleeve.
So I think I own at least 3 copies of that movie, because I have the Blu-ray, and I have I think the normal DVD, and I have when it came out, there was this fold-out collector's edition, because it was like prime time for DVDs to have collector's edition. And so it had multiple discs, and I don't know if the first one had a different cut. The second one definitely had a slightly different cut.
Because there's a 2.5 or something of the second
one. Yeah, one of those weird things that they did. But it also had like the soundtrack album with like Chad Kroeger and stuff on it, which came in it. And then it came with a documentary. It's such a random collection of stuff. It came with a documentary of just Kevin Smith interviewing Stan Lee for an hour. And one of them is about Spider-Man, but there's 2 on there. The other one's just about like X-Men and stuff. It's nothing to do with Spider-Man at all. But that also came packed in. It's this really weird box, and it's cardboard, and it folds all the way out, and you've got like stacks of discs in there.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
apparently I missed that train. Yeah.
I mean, it's all of those collector's editions that came in fold-out cardboard cases, even if you take good care of them, look a little worse for wear by like now. So I don't know that it's the most practical way of storing your DVDs, but it's the thing.
Well, I think it's because they're made out of cardboard. You fold it back and forth 3 times, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
it just looks
exactly.
shabby already, right? Yeah.
And if you've watched it as many times as I watched that movie over the years, it gets a little worn out. Although I haven't opened that one in a while because I've got the Blu-rays now,
Hmm.
and it's often streaming somewhere. Where
Yeah.
it's usually on Netflix or Disney Plus or something.
Yes. Like I was telling you, I watched uh I watched the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. I have the DVDs of 1 and 2, but I didn't have 3, and because of work I have access to all of them, so I watched 3 at work. Um
Nice.
which I like so one thing I've realized is I have not watched any of these movies in an incredibly long time. Incredibly long time. Because like they are the back in the day ones where they had like super long credits that
Yes.
wasn't like a cold open and it's like a bling and then
And
like the movie
at least
starts.
2 and 3, it recaps the story of the last one.
Yeah.
But the first one's just long. It's like X-Men. It just goes forever, right? Like it just
It
keeps going.
it's like 6 minutes long. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like why?
You, you get
Come
to the
on.
cinema and it's like, okay, now you're going to sit down and you're just going to listen to the soundtrack, and we're going to make you watch. You're going to find out who's in the movie, and this is how we do movies now.
Yeah.
We're not starting with an exciting scene. No, we're just starting with sitting down, just listening to some nice music, relaxing, and seeing pictures of James Franco and Kirsten Dunst and all of those guys.
Yeah. And it's just, I was frustrated. Like, I was thoroughly frustrated at how long they were. Because usually, like, well, I guess it has switched now where, especially with superhero movies, even if they put credits at the beginning, it's just the names of the 5 main stars and
Yes.
executive producer and directed by, and it's done. It's like
Yeah.
45 seconds. It's over, you know?
And modern Marvel is just like a Marvel logo typically, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and even that, like in Thunderbolts, it's black, or it like they mix it up. Like it's not the same every single time. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was a different. You don't think of like the early 2000s as being like a different time, like classic movies, but it really is.
It
It
really
is a different
is.
style of movie making. It's like when you watch a 70s movie and it's just like 45 minutes of someone smoking, and that's that's kind of what early 2000s was, except with just long credits at the beginning.
Yeah. It's really funny you brought up 70s movies and like 45 minutes of smoking. Every time I watch a movie from like, let's say about 1991 and back, it always drives me crazy when people get in cars and they don't put on their seatbelts. I don't know why, but I'm like, why aren't you guys wearing your seatbelt? You're gonna die. You're in the middle of a
Yeah.
car chase. I don't understand what's going on. Like,
And now I
this
can't enjoy
teenager
the
is
movie.
drunk. Yeah.
But it's just like, or you watch like Aliens or Planet of the Apes, and they're all smoking on a spaceship, and it's like, how is this safe? Like,
Yes, exactly. It's just like but also like it just seems so, like you said, smoking on a spaceship. It seems out of place. Like
yeah,
this is not where smoking is supposed to happen because you're in space on a spaceship. It's probably an oxygenated
exactly.
environment. You're gonna blow up your ship.
Or even just the recirculating air that there must be, like there must be it just coming back through, right?
It's like really, why is it so musty all of a sudden? Like, I don't know.
Why is everything yellow?
Exactly. But like once we were past the credits, I actually thought these movies were visually at least perfectly fine. Like
Yeah, they
I
hold up
mean,
well.
they
I
hold
think.
up very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like
I
them.
think there's an odd bit where the CGI maybe they pushed just a little too far for what they could do at the time. But with where our brains were at back then, it was perfect. It's only now that we're, I think, a little bit more sophisticated in telling CGI from real people. But even that, it's like a shot here and there. It's not a regular thing. And yeah, overall, like the costume still looks really good, and like it hasn't dated like the X-Men costumes, they kind of dated because they tried to make them kind of modern, but
Yeah.
now modern is old. Whereas Spider-Man just looks like Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
that's I think was a good way to go.
The one thing that did frustrate me about this Spider-Man in particular is, I'm sorry, Peter Parker is an excellent seamstress, and is
Yes.
really good with design work and sourcing materials, because I was just like, because like I think in like the new movie, you're like, no, Tony Stark's making his costume.
Yes.
Of course, it's gonna be really cool. Fine.
Yes.
I do not remember where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man gets his costume. I have no idea.
He makes
Um,
it, but he does show him like ordering materials and stuff, and so he's like research. He's like, oh, lycra, like I need this because it's light, and yeah, again, his is probably a little bit more extravagant than most of us could make, but it's. I feel like they didn't really care with this one, right? They're just like, oh yeah, he made this, and he goes from making like the wrestling suit, which is just like a tracksuit essentially
yeah,
with
with the spider drawn on his chest.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
it.
He goes from that, and maybe he had other steps along the way that we didn't see, but he goes from that to this like one of the iconic superhero costumes of all time, and like even like the layering of the webs, like the way they kind of like because they're not printed, they're raised and they must
Yeah.
be glued down, and like because those suits were like 100 grand or something. Like that's what they were, because one got stolen. I think it was either in Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2. One of the suits got stolen,
Oh.
and it was kind of big news because it was such an expensive like piece of the budget, I guess. Like it's so yeah, it was kind of a big thing. It was either Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2.
So it looks like it was Spider-Man, so 2002, so that's the first one, and the suits cost $50,000 USD.
Yeah,
And Sony offered 25 grand for the suit back. I
yeah,
mean, half the cost, I guess.
yeah. That's a lot of money for a suit. Like they
Yeah.
look good, but that's a lot of money for a suit.
But we're also supposed to believe some nerdy kid in his tiny room at his aunt's place sewed it though.
Yeah,
Like,
who's also like dirt poor. Like
right?
he doesn't have money for expensive fabrics and um, like yeah, they can't afford to pay the bills, but Peter's just spent 50 grand on a costume.
Exactly. But also through all the movies, his suits get destroyed,
Yeah,
and he just
regularly.
makes
Yeah,
another one. You're just like,
yeah.
I'm not even seeing like spots where he did a little like spot mending or anything. Like they're just perfect. They're
It
perfect.
looks so good. I'm happy to suspend my disbelief on it. Like I'm happy to be like, yeah, he just did that. Like he's just good. He's like a cosplayer. He's good at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's a big jump, especially for, like say from the wrestling suit that is believable that a teenage boy that looks like he's in his 30s might have made. That's probably my only other criticism of these movies. And again, it doesn't. I don't really care, but that they're meant to all be in high school and they're all like Andrew Garfield was in his 30s, but he kind of looked more like a kid,
Yeah.
whereas like none of these people look like children.
Well, so I actually looked it up because I was getting really frustrated by it. So yeah, Tobey Maguire was 28 when he played this
Yeah,
role. And I think the closest one to the right age was Kristen Dunst. She was 21.
yeah.
So I was
And I know
like,
they're only in high school for the first bit as well. So
yeah,
they get out of high school and into college, and then it feels a bit like it feels less of a thing as the movies go on. I feel
yeah,
like it feels more accurate as it goes on. And again, I don't really care. Like I'm kind of used to like I feel like American movies often do that, so we're kind of desensitized to it anyway.
mhm,
But yeah, it is kind of funny when you look
yeah,
back on it because Tom Holland, especially, like I feel like even though he's like grown up, he even still kind of looks like a kid. Like they pick someone with really like childlike features, and
mhm.
like he's smaller as well. Like he's not like he's fit, but he's not like chunky and bulky. He's
Yeah.
like he feels more like a kid, and
He's
like
lean. That's what you're going for, lean.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire never felt like a kid to me, really. But
No,
like,
no.
but like again, I don't really care. Like it's, I
But
feel like
yeah.
because it's such a classic style that they go for in this particular trilogy of movies, I feel like because even in the comics, they kind of looked old in the like 60s comics. Like the way the kids were drawn, sometimes they didn't really look like kids either. So I feel like that's kind of what it was representing, and so it doesn't. I mean, I guess I don't know. It just doesn't worry me that much.
Well,
Like,
that's why I was gonna bring up the like '90s cartoon that a lot of us grew up on, where like you look back at it, and I'm like, no, that's a 40-year-old man they're drawing as
yeah,
Peter Parker, and he's in high
yeah.
school for the whole almost the whole show,
Oh, is
and
he
you're
really?
just like,
I always think of him as being older. I haven't watched that in a while, but
oh
yeah,
no. Well, that's the thing. I looked it up for this, and I was just like, because I was just like, no, he's a kid. In the cartoon, he was a kid. And then I looked at the picture, I was like, no, that's a 40-year-old man.
he's got
What am I
such an
talking
old
about?
man voice as well in that show. Like it was funny. They did one of the games. They brought back a whole bunch of voice actors from I think it was Shattered Dimensions. So it had 4 different Spider-Mans, and they brought back different voice actors for different games. And one of them was like the 60s one. And so it's like this old man doing like a Spider-Man voice. And in the game, they did give it to one of the ones. I think they gave it to like Spider-Man Noir. So it wasn't like super noticeable that he had like this very old man voice. It kind of worked for him. But it was just funny because they picked all these different generations of Spider-Man voice actors and put them all in this game together. And it was just very noticeable that a couple were a fair bit older than the rest.
You're like, why is this 20-year-old man sounding like he's 74 years old? You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave it. We're gonna ignore this. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that Spider-Man, I'd always, yeah, in my mind, he was older. Yeah, I haven't, like say, I haven't watched that in a while, the 90s one.
Well,
But,
yeah.
yeah, cool. I kind of want maybe I have to go back and watch it. That's also famously, I know it's off topic for the movies, it's also famously the cartoon where he never throws a punch for the entire
Oh,
run of
that's
the
true. He does a lot
yeah.
of dodging and like
He
throwing
does a lot of
webs,
dodging
but
and a lot of webs. He never punches a single person.
yes, yeah,
And the
remember
police
that.
all have lasers.
The one villain, like I know there's all the villains, right? Like Green Goblin, all that kind of stuff. But the one villain that always sticks out for me, and I know this came back to mind when I watched Craven the Hunter, was if you
I haven't
look
watched it
up
yet.
Craven from this cartoon, he is absolutely ridiculous. He is so ridiculous. It's to a point where that it's pure art. You're like, you can't
Yeah.
be this ridiculous without it being on purpose. Like there has to be somebody saying yes to all of this in the right way, you know.
The biggest,
But yeah.
and I still, and this maybe might shock you. I still haven't even seen Madam Web. Like those Sony Spider-Man movies, really. Like I'll watch Spider-Man almost anything, and
Yeah.
after like the second Venom, I think I was just kind of done on those. So I haven't watched Venom 3 or Madam Web or Craven the Hunter yet. And my
So
biggest issue
yeah.
with Craven the Hunter is now I know we're just not going to get like that goofy version of Craven the Hunter in one of the Spider-Man movies. Like I'd really like to see that with like his lion jacket and that would be pretty fun.
I mean, he has the lion jacket. It just doesn't look as cool as you want it to look in the
Yeah,
movie. The biggest problem with that movie is that it's boring, and then you're
yeah,
just like, I don't understand what you're doing. Like it just doesn't go anywhere.
yeah. I
You
definitely
know.
will watch it, but
Mhm.
again, it's like all those Sony movies. It's like they're building up to something, but you know that something is never coming.
Yeah.
Like back in Morbius, when the Vulture comes in,
Oh
you
Jesus.
know that's never going to amount to anything because this movie's terrible. They're not making another Morbius. Like they're not, and like that one, I actually probably enjoyed more than some of the others because it was just kind of goofy and fun. But like, I don't know, it was like they kept pretending that there was this big payoff that was going to eventually come, and it's like Madam Web having Ben Parker in it and stuff, and it's just like that you're never going to do anything with this. So why are you even setting it up? Nobody is seeing these movies. Like they're all failing. Like what?
Well, I think the buildup is because they don't expect it to fail. They're like, no, people are gonna see it because it's superheroes. And then 5 people saw it and they're like, it's garbage, and everybody ran away.
And even
And
Morbius when it got re-released because everyone was memeing it, and so they thought that they were like, "Oh, it's trending. Like Morbius is popular. Let's put it back in cinemas." And then nobody saw it again. And
They're like, what you don't understand is we're making fun of you. We are not saying
Yes.
we like this. Get it together.
I wonder if, like, in the future, we're going to be nostalgic for some of these. The Sony, whatever I think they were calling it the Sony universe of Marvel characters.
Oh
So
God.
are we going to be nostalgic for, because I remember a lot of people really disliking, and going off topic a bit, but Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I know now that for a lot of people, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like a really nostalgic film because they were too young for like Tobey Maguire, but like they were the perfect age for Andrew Garfield. So even though a lot of people don't really like that second Amazing Spider-Man film, I know a lot of younger people really liked that version of the character and still really like enjoy and have nostalgia for that movie.
Yeah, I think that's just a generational thing. Because I mean, I
Yeah.
know I have movies that I saw when I was a kid that I know for a fact are garbage, but will I sit and
Yes.
watch them? Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
I
what I mean.
will.
Is there going to be kids that grew up watching Craven the Hunter and Madam Web on Netflix,
Well,
and they're like,
we
"These
gotta
are
wait
my
like
Spider-Man"?
15 years for the to find out, but I feel like
Yes.
the answer is gonna be yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then they'll bring these characters. Like they'll probably have Spider-Man, still very quite far from home, and they'll bring back like Madam Web and Morbius, and they're like, "Hey, we're back. These characters that you love."
We're like, no, you misunderstood. You misunderstood. This is
I
not what we were
Jared
going
Leto
for.
might be in jail by that point, but so maybe they don't bring back Morbius, but they might. I mean, it could go the route of Blade though. He went to jail and then he got out. He did his time and he came back and now he's
Yeah.
playing again. So
Yeah. You never know how these things work.
yeah,
I think the thing is that the characters aren't bad. They're just in bad movies.
yeah, yeah,
And that's the biggest problem. Like once you get like them in like a good movie and a good story, people are
yeah.
gonna watch it. People are gonna be there. People are gonna be like, this is really good. Everybody have a look at it, you know?
I mean, without
Um,
Spider Man, there's like not really a point for them being there. Like, and of all of them, like I think Venom works the best as kind of his own character, but still without Spider Man as kind of that initial tether, a lot of stuff about him doesn't really make very much sense. And then, and even like Tom Hardy, I think was doing a great job in those movies, and Venom looks pretty good, but those movies suck. Like
yeah,
they're
they
so
do.
bad.
They're so
Like, how do
bad.
they make it so bad with like a good lead actor, good visual effects? Like how do you just make it such a bad movie?
Yeah, I did not have to pay to watch it. I was technically paid to watch the movie. I got free breakfast.
Oh, nice.
I got to be out of work for 3 hours and I was still angry about it. So that has to tell you how bad it was. It's the same
Yeah,
thing with Madam Web. I am still
yeah.
angry that I have seen that movie. I am mad about it.
I've watched enough YouTube videos about it that I feel like I've seen the entire movie
It's
anyway, and I've probably watched more than the runtime of the movie just watching YouTube videos about it because I am very curious about it,
fine.
but I don't I don't know. I
I
just
feel like if you sit down and actually watch the movie from beginning to end, you will surprisingly, you will think you are prepared for how disappointed you're going to be, but you'll still be more disappointed. I'm just going to
yeah.
let you know.
I kind of feel like because I feel like they're not even so bad they're good, right? Like they're
No.
just so bad they're just kind of boring and
Yeah.
average. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
also like especially with like Madam Web, the villain doesn't make any sense or their existence in the world seems kind of pointless and they're mad at somebody for stupid reasons.
even
Um,
Spider-Man.
yeah, and like the movie takes place in the 90s instead of present day. And also whoever did the costume design doesn't actually know what people dressed like or talked in the 90s.
So
And
that's a really interesting thing I was reading about where um maybe the time period that it was meant to be in changed several times during the course of production because they kind of wanted to retrofit it. It maybe initially wasn't going to be connected to the other Sony movies, and then they were like, "No, we need it to," and they're like, "But we've already kind of half started." So then they kind of retrofitted it in and changed the dates to make it match. But like you say, they don't match because they didn't change any other aspect of the movie.
well, I think The changing the time period weird that does kind of make sense based on what the movie looks like now that you
Yeah,
say it. But also the way the story is structured, I feel like they knew they should have known the time period because I mean, do you care if I spoil a part of it?
I
Like,
don't think there's anything in it you can spoil for me.
okay,
I know
so
everything about
yeah, so
it.
Ben Parker's in there, his wife's
Yeah,
there, she's pregnant. It's clearly Peter Parker. And I
yeah,
think they were trying to be like, no, no, this is the Tom Holland Peter Parker being born here. Like this is what
yeah,
this is.
yeah,
So for that through line to be within the whole movie, they would have already known what time period they were gonna be in, right?
yeah.
So that
Well,
should have
yeah,
been that's not like a that the way the story is in the movie, it's not something that seems to have been shoehorned into it.
yeah. I think these Sony Spider-Man movies also weren't really sure whether Spider-Man exists in their universes or not. Because in the trailers for some of them, they show Spider-Man like there's one where it shows like graffiti of Spider-Man and it's like the Tobey Maguire version in one of the early trailers for I think Morbius.
Okay.
And then there's other stuff like that too, where I think they were kind of trying to work out how to make it, but also they just didn't know. Like they were like, "Can we use Tom Holland?" And then they're like, "No, I don't think we're allowed to." But then some of the stuff I've read more recently from like Marvel had said, "There's no reason they couldn't have used Tom Holland if they had wanted to," but they just did it. Like
Yeah.
and it's such a weird thing that they have created, such a weird mess, and then even it kind of makes everything else messy because it's like Vulture's in the Morbius universe now. Like, if they want to use Vulture again in a Spider-Man movie, do they just ignore that? Like, do you think they just pretend that never happened? I think probably that's what they
Yeah,
do.
I think they did do that. I mean, like Marvel has done that for a while. They're starting to pick up some of the storylines that they've ignored for a while in some of the
Yeah,
newer stuff. So they're finally finding a way to bring back all this stuff that they're just like, we're not going to continue this story anymore, but it technically exists. We're just going to
yeah,
ignore it, and now they're bringing it back.
yeah,
So maybe in the future that's what will happen with Sony because they're going to be like, yeah, Manaweb doesn't technically exist, but we'll talk about the repercussions of what she did.
yeah,
Or Mobius doesn't exist, but we'll talk about like, new blood medicines or something.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe he'll
It's,
cure a
it's
disease. I don't know.
even like the Venom stuff where they brought Venom over to the MCU, but then he just stayed in that like tiki bar. He never interacted with anyone else from any of the movies, and then he went back. But then they're like, but there's a little bit of Venom suit here, and it's like, it's like, it's just so weird.
It is.
It's such a weird relationship that the MCU and this Sony movies have, where they're kind of like family, but they're like this weird extended family that they ignore 99% of the time.
Right? Yeah. But they
Yeah,
keep trying to integrate them together in like
yeah,
the shadiest ways. You're just like,
yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about, but you're not saying it directly, so I don't know what's going on here.
yeah. I think like the MCU is like the popular side of the family that have been really successful, and then the other side of the family, they're like, hey, we're Marvels too, right? Like we're just like those guys down the street. We're just this like Morbius is a popular character and everyone loves him, and we're just like Iron Man and Captain America.
Well, they're trying to pick up like I was talking about this on my last episode where until the MCU started and like Iron Man was there and Captain America, like people knew about the characters, but they were essentially
Yeah.
like B, C list superheroes that have now been
Yes.
elevated to much higher. And I think that's Sony is trying to do the same thing. Like, don't take like the normal villains from Spider-Man. Take like
Yeah.
the B and C villains from Spider-Man, and we're gonna do something cool with it because we paid for it.
Yeah.
And it's just not
But I
working.
think like Morbius and Craven, well, Craven's not even a hero, and Morbius is like people know who Morbius is, but he's not even on the C tier. Like he's well down the ranks of
Yeah.
of Like he's hanging out with the New Warriors and the characters like that.
Yeah.
He's not standing next to Captain America.
No, he's not. I honestly did not know who Morbius was when
Yeah,
they released that movie. And I was like, who's this weird vampire dude? I was like, all right,
he's
sure.
he's another one that was funny in the animated series because he couldn't suck blood, so he had these like leech hands, and he would like drain people's life force with his leech hands. Um, and even like he's a funny character anyway because he comes from the point in the comics where they weren't allowed to have, because of the comics code, they couldn't have undead characters. So
Yeah.
that's why he's always called Morbius the living vampire. He's not like a real vampire because like you couldn't have a real vampire at that time. You had to have a living vampire.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why Blade is a daywalker because he
Yeah.
didn't actually like die or whatever. He was born a vampire. He's alive. So that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a weird time, the comics code stuff. It led to some really weird stuff, and I feel like Morbius is like the definition of that weird stuff.
Yeah. It seems like it because I was watching that movie and I was like, what? What does this mean? Sure. Like, I don't
even
know.
even like, and I kind of liked Morbius. Like in a like of all of they're all kind of bad, but that one I thought was kind of funny bad. Like I kind of enjoyed it, and I like the Matt Smith as the bad guy. Like he was so over the top. Like it was not good. Like it definitely wasn't good, but it was kind of funny. And like they didn't really he didn't really know what his powers were. He was just like this generic vampire thing. And it's like, oh, he has like radar and he can fly and he's like
He can
he's
move fast.
strong, I guess. Like
Yeah.
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 It was like this really weirdly defined, and is he supernatural or is he science? Like he's not anything. He's just this
Yeah.
weird movie.
Well, like you said, like my biggest problem with the movie was A, it didn't make much sense, and B, it was very boring. Like there was a lot
Yeah,
of I find there was a lot of just like quiet moments of him making faces at things you couldn't really see.
it might
And
have
you
helped.
were like,
I
what?
saw it. I saw it when I was away for work, and I went and saw it in like the gold class cinema because I could get reimbursed my meals at work. So I'm like I can go. So I was also drinking while I was watching it, which might have helped as
That'll
well.
do it. That'll do it.
Yeah. But and also I feel like that was close enough to COVID that going to the cinema was still a bit of a novelty, maybe as well. So you had like I call it the Wonder Woman 84 effect.
Oh
It's not a
God.
great movie, but I really enjoyed watching it because I hadn't seen anything at a cinema in ages
Long
in
time.
the
Yeah.
lead up to it. So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I mean, yeah, no, I have nothing else to say. I think what superhero movie did I watch in the theaters? I watched um New Mutants, which
oh
was not
wow.
very
I don't
good.
I don't think that got released. So I watched New Mutants like ages afterwards. I kind of liked it. I watched it on Disney Plus, and having recently like I watched the whatever the last X-Men movie was.
Mhm.
I think I can't even remember what it's called. But I watched
Apocalypse?
yeah. No, after Apocalypse.
Oh,
The Dark
Phoenix,
one.
The
Yeah.
Rise of Phoenix?
Yeah,
Was it?
something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah.
And I watched New Mutants. I was like, oh, this is kind of neat because it's not doing so much. Like it was just kind of, but like I think if I'd seen it at the cinema, maybe I would have been more disappointed. But like as a what felt like a straight to video superhero movie, I
Yeah.
kind of it was all right. They were watching Buffy. It had like weird, creepy looking things in it. Yeah, overall I enjoyed that one quite a bit more than. But I didn't see it at the cinema. I don't even think it got released at the cinema here. I
Oh,
don't,
okay. Yeah, no, that movie for me was just confusing because it was sort of like, you know what it is? It came across like it was put together by committee.
yeah,
Because each section of the movie seems like they were making a different movie,
yeah,
right?
and it's very unclear whether it's even really that related to X Men or whether it's when it takes place.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of things that are kind of weird about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I guess I like teen movies as well, so I appreciated like I thought the cast was pretty good in it
Oh,
for the most
great.
part.
I actually
Yeah,
thought the cast they had was fantastic.
yeah,
And I really wish they actually gave them like a proper story to work with and a
Yes,
proper
yeah,
space to
yeah,
work
yeah,
from.
100%. Like I think they elevated the material that was there was like the overall material. I think that they were drawing from in New Mutants is good, but they hadn't done a lot with it. But then the cast kind of elevated it a little bit. Like I think that's why I would say to me it felt a little underrated because I didn't feel like it was nearly as bad as some of like the worst X-Men. Because some of the bad X-Men stuff, I love a lot of those X-Men movies, but some of the bad ones get pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like New Mutants was just kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, like it wasn't like Morbius or Madam Web or whatever where it's just like, oh my God, what is this garbage? I watched it and
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not sure what's
there was
happening, but I'm
something there.
kind of
Yeah,
okay with it, you know?
yes,
But it didn't take itself too seriously, but also didn't come across as a joke. And the effects were pretty decent, and like we said, the
yeah,
actors were decent. I just feel like if the people making it figured out what movie they were making, it would have
yes,
been better. Because there was like when the movie first starts, it's like a teen coming of age drama. Then in the
yes,
middle, it's like it's not even a coming of age, it's a wacky teen comedy. And then the third half of the movie is like a horror movie. And you're just like,
yeah.
what is
And they
what are you
shelved it
doing?
for like such a long time as well because it was just like they finished that movie ages before it came out, and then it was just sitting there. And then they released it at like the worst possible time, like when the X-Men universe was clearly like completely dead, and before we got the kind of glimmers of hope of some of these X-Men characters appearing in the MCU. Like it was kind of in that real period where it felt like that X-Men universe was going nowhere, and so releasing another movie in that period was like yeah, it wasn't setting it up for the best kind of
Yeah.
reception either.
And also right at the beginning of the pandemic, like
Yes,
that didn't
yes,
help.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was hard. But yeah, like I don't hate it the same way like I hate Venom 3, for example. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Flat out. If
So
somebody's
you
just
didn't like
like,
Venom 3?
oh
I,
no, it is so bad. It is
Venom 2 was so
so
bad.
bad.
So yeah,
The funny thing is, so I watched Venom 1. I made it through the first Venom because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. I'll make it through it.
yeah,
I have watched a lot of garbage in my life, but I got about a third of the way through Venom 2 and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I have to walk
yeah.
away. I can't do it. And
It,
then, like I said, for work, I watched Venom 3 and I'm still mad about it because it was so horrible. Like
well,
it
I'm
was
in
so
much the same.
horrible.
I watched the first Venom movie and I didn't like it. Like I didn't enjoy the movie, but I liked Tom Hardy and I liked what he was doing with Venom. I thought it was kind of cool. Just everything around it just wasn't great. And so I was like, new director, like maybe two's gonna kind of fix it. And two was worse, I think. Like as a movie, two was a lot worse. Even though there was just some really interesting stuff. Like I liked the whole dynamic with Venom and Eddie Brock, and almost like that they're in almost like a queer relationship. Like that aspect of it was kind of interesting. But then the movie is just so awful. And like even the biggest bit for me is you've got Woody Harrelson as Chris Cassie, who's like a million years old. Like I like Woody Harrelson, but he's way too old to play the part. And there's a bit where he's like walking down the street and he's got his pants hiked up like because he's an old man, and then he has to jump over the counter to like kick this guy, and it's not Carnage, it's him, and he's got to jump over the counter to kick this guy, and you can just tell like that wasn't an easy thing for him to do. It's not a menacing thing to do. Like it's just like a little sad, and it's just like, oh, you couldn't have got the stuntman to do that, or you couldn't have just made him Carnage and CGI'd him jumping over the counter. You had to do the guy like that. Like, and there were so many things like that where, and it's just they move from scene to scene. It's like someone puts their fingers in a computer, and it's like that's a power that symbiotes have now that they can just merge into computers and see things. Like it was such a weird, bad movie.
Yeah, if you have a problem with that one, wait till you see Venom 3. So
Yeah,
just be prepared.
it's
Be
got a horse.
prepared. Yeah, for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It's really not great. And the worst part is they show the 3 seconds in the trailer. In
yeah,
the minute and a half it's on screen in the theater, it looks 10 times worse.
Yeah,
It looks so bad.
and it's the saddest thing for me is that, like, I think Tom Hardy is legitimately can play that character well, and that his version of Venom could be good if in another thing. Like, if they eventually, and I hope they do, if they eventually add him to the MCU somehow, just as Venom, and they kind of ignore his movies, but just bring him across as Venom, I would be totally fine with that. Like, I think he would work quite well amongst the other, like, with better storytelling, I think he'd be just fine.
Okay. I don't know. Like, I have a real
Maybe after
problem
three
with the
movies gone
fact.
too far.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I do have a real problem with them making Venom an overall good guy, though. Like,
Yeah.
he's not a good
Boring.
guy.
Yeah, and it's kind of boring. Like
It
making him
is.
a good guy, I think it's just not that interesting. He's better as a villain
Yeah.
than as a yeah. It and yeah, I don't know. I still yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know.
maybe
I think
maybe that
again
just makes them
I think again it goes back to storytelling style. Like, I think if they managed to make like a good story where Venom was good, I would probably be okay with it. But the stories that they put out with this Venom where he's a quote unquote good guy, it doesn't
yeah,
work. So then I'm just like, why did you do this?
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Venom, and I are you happy? We're jumping around with Spider-Man stuff quite a lot. We haven't talked about Maguire. Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Good.
fine.
We love the Tobey Maguire movies, so we'll talk about them as we go, I'm sure. But like the Venom in Spider-Man 3, because I know you said you just watched it, and it's
Yes.
like that '70s show Venom. I kind of like that version. I think in a lot of ways it's better than the version that we got in the Venom movies.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I have to get my thoughts together about this because
I dumped that on you.
you did. Because, as I said, I watched that movie today and I hated about 90% of my time watching this movie.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yes.
I
Uh
like Spider-Man
it
3 quite a
hasn't
lot.
it hasn't aged well. It is boring. The parts where I think they should actually pay attention to better the story isn't, like, they skip over it really quickly.
Yes, that's a
Um
big problem.
I find Mary Jane kind of comes across as a villain in all three movies. They don't make her a real character, which was getting me really frustrated.
Yeah.
But also throughout the movies, she uses men to make herself feel good and then just dumps them all along the way, which was making me angry. I'm like, you're making Mary Jane a villain. She's not a villain. Um, and
She
then
had a
the
pretty traumatic upbringing. To be fair, she had a pretty traumatic upbringing, and I think she's dealing with stuff.
yeah, but they don't make her a character. Like
No,
the scenes they bring her in, it's just you just have Peter starts the three of the movies with him just like, she's so beautiful, I'm in love with her,
yes,
Mary J. And you're like, first of all, creepy stalker, you need to stop. We're not
yeah,
going to
she's
do
a thing
this.
to covet. She's not really a person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. And but then also they don't show her character in it, so you're just like, why are you in love with her? She's not doing anything. She doesn't
and
seem
she just
particularly smart. She doesn't seem interesting. You're not having conversations with her. Like, why are you in love with her? Like, it doesn't make
yeah,
any sense. And then
and there actually
also,
aren't many scenes with them as like a romantic couple.
no,
Really,
there
like
aren't.
there aren't very many. Like there's the bit at the beginning of Spider-Man 3 where they're like watching the meteors, and like
Yes.
for the most part they're broken up in most of the movies, and it's like the awkward. Which I don't know. I kind of like this aspect to an extent, but they're often in like a phase where they're not in a very good place.
Yeah.
Like it's like there were good places. It feels like, but they were off screen. There were times when their relationship was good, but we never see
You never
it. We
see it.
only see the bad times.
Well, because even at the end of the first movie, where so they're at where are they? They're at a funeral or something. Is that in the first
Yes.
movie or the second movie?
Um,
Um, but she essentially walks up to him. She's like, I've made a decision. I love you. Tell me you love me. And he's just like, yeah, we know that he loves her. But also, I'm just like, out of nowhere, you have shown no interest the whole movie in him. And suddenly you're just
yeah,
like, I'm picking you. So you have to be in the
yeah.
exact same place I'm in. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, this is just a weird.
and
Space.
often they kind of give that dynamic in Spider-Man stuff where, at least until she learns that Peter and Spider-Man are the same person, that she loves one aspect of Peter and one aspect of Spider-Man. But in this, it just feels like she loves Spider-Man.
Yes.
Maybe more so than she loves Peter. Like,
Yeah.
I think she likes Peter that he's a nice guy and she wants him to be dependable. He's not, but she feels like he should be dependable, and she likes that, like, he clearly does as much as he cares about anyone because he is a bit self-centered. Like, but like he does care. I think she likes that he cares about her, but he doesn't really show. He's not very good at showing it, like because he's so egocentric and like. There's the moment in Spider-Man 3, and again, I kind of like this because like this Peter is kind of a flawed Peter in a lot of ways. Like, there's the bit where she's talking about how she's struggling in the theater and things aren't going so well for her, and then he relates it back to him as Spider-Man and how people used to dislike Spider-Man, but now they really like him, and like he's totally missing the point and kind of ignoring her hurt and just be like, yeah, this is kind of like me. And as someone like in relationships we don't always get things right, I can kind of relate to that a little bit. Like I like that he's just missed the point and he's kind of he just needs to listen to her, but he's so caught up in his own stuff that he's not doing that. Like I
Yeah,
feel like that's actually deeper than maybe even is intended to be, but it's
but I
yeah,
think
it's
that is uh so because I watched all these movies so close together, it was easier to see like parallels in the storytellings in the movies.
yes,
And if you watch how he acts in Spider-Man 3, and then if you go back and look at Spider-Man 2 when his whole life is falling apart and everybody's just yelling at him all the time and nobody's actually listening to what
yeah,
he's saying, he's
yes,
doing to her what everybody did to him in the
yes,
second
yes,
movie. And
yeah,
I'm not
because now he's
saying that
popular.
is a good thing. I am just saying how could they not realize what they were doing to him as well? Because even in that moment when she gets him and walks away, yes, he's a little confused, but also I think he sort of he at least gets it
Yes,
where and he
yes,
tries to apologize, whereas in the first movie nobody apologizes to him, nobody tries to help him. Like one of the things that made me really mad about that second movie, like I actually think the second movie is still the best one of all of these movies. I actually still think it's a very good superhero movie,
yeah,
but the thing that was getting me mad is that especially like when he was going to school, there is a elitist behavior sprinkled throughout it because people kept calling him lazy.
yeah,
And but even besides being Spider-Man, people knew he had like three jobs. He was
yeah.
broke. He was trying to keep
He's
things
recently lost his
together.
uncle.
Yeah,
Like,
like somebody
yeah,
died, but everybody's just like, "Well, you're lazy and you're not trying hard enough." And you're
yeah.
just like, "What the
And then
fuck?"
even in college, like kids are bullying him. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know that. Like, at least my experience of university is people were bullying people. Like you kind of grown out of that stage. At least that was my experience. Maybe it's
Yeah.
different in different universities, but like it it seems so weird. Yeah, it's treated like crap. Like even this is something I quite like in Amazing Spider-Man. Over this version is that when his uncle dies, you've got Flash, who Flash is like the Flash in Amazing Spider-Man is worse. Like he's a worse dude than the one in the Sam Raimi ones.
Mhm.
But even he recognizes like that Peter is hurting and kind of tries to be there for him in like a moment. Like he's the worst guy on earth. He's like making this kid eat food off the ground. And even that guy can realize, oh man, this kid's like hurting and maybe he needs someone to be there for him. So and he doesn't really have those kind of friends in the Sam Raimi ones.
No, he
Like
doesn't. He doesn't
like
seem.
Harry's not even like that. Like Harry
Yeah,
doesn't even really because Harry's always caught up his own stuff. Like he doesn't really. He's Pete's friend, but they're they're not close friends really. Like
yeah.
they're just friends. Like
You're just.
and he
He's
doesn't
just
have
somebody he knows and is around sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he's as much of an outsider. Like they're just friends because they're both outsiders, I think, as well. Like
yeah.
in their school, which is maybe realistic. Like it's not necessarily a bad choice, but it's you realize that like he doesn't really have any close friends. Like that's why he and his aunt are so close, I guess, because
Yeah.
he doesn't have anyone else, and that's why like he and Octavius, like I think that's why that relationship when it first forms is so important to him because he's never really had a friend that can also talk to him on his level,
Yeah.
like that understands things that he understands and is interested in the things that he understands.
And
Um,
also has like the joy in talking about those things
yeah,
because like
yeah,
you see there's scenes with Mary Jane and he starts like going up on some nerdy things and she like smiles at him like,
like
oh,
oh, you silly nerd,
you're
you
such a
silly nerd.
nerd. Can we
Yeah,
change the subject?
yeah,
Like, and Harry only used him to help him get through school. But
yeah.
besides that, he doesn't want to hear about that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and when it matters, kind of most. And I mean, I guess he's also dealing with the loss of his dad and takes it in a pretty bad way. But like that, he just won't listen to his friend, like for even 5 minutes, just to be like to like hear what actually happened. He instead goes on this like maniacal revenge route instead of just being like maybe taking the 5 minutes to talk to him. But again, that's very much the melodrama of the Spider-Man comics of the 60s. And I think that's really what Sam Raimi was going for. Like these
Mhm.
characters are almost, they're not really naturalistic characters. They're more caricatures. Like they're more that kind of iconic versions of the characters. Whereas I think if you compare that to Tom Holland, like there are more times when you see Tom Holland feel like he feels more like a real person, I guess, than
Yes, he does.
the yeah, which is a big difference. And then I think the Andrew Garfield one sort of swings somewhere in the middle. It's kind of playing both fields a little bit, but
Well, that's one thing I really liked about these Sam Raimi movies. Like, I think he like steps over a line in the third one, but like the first two movies, he does the it's not even cheesy or campy. It's got that um like melodramatic
yeah, larger than
balance.
life. Like
Yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
I actually feel like who was it? Who did the second two Batman movies in the 90s? Is it Jerry Bruckheimer? Is that who it was?
um, Richard Donner? No, no,
No,
that's
the
who else. Um,
like
we're both
Batman
wrong. I can't.
Forever.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it. It's um,
What's his face? Oh, Joel Schumacher, Jerry
yes,
Bruckheimer. I was
yes,
so wrong. Joel Schumacher. Like, I feel like the Joel Schumacher movies, like Batman movies, were trying to do what Sam Raimi did.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
To get
yeah,
that, like, because like you watch it and you're like, it kind of feels like a comic book, and like the way
yes.
it's oversaturated, it kind of looks like a comic book.
And I think
And
that's why they hold up better than maybe some other superhero movies from around the same time
yeah,
because it isn't real life. It isn't really set any particular decade. Like it's kind of feels a bit timeless and a bit like, and obviously there's aspects of early 2000s stuff in it, especially when you look at the soundtrack and stuff like that. But overall, like it feels a little bit more timeless. Whereas the especially the Andrew Garfield one and then the Tom Holland one, they feel very modern. Like they were going for a modern, up to date approach
yeah, it's
instead.
now. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Hmm.
which I think works really well. And I think part of maybe what falls down to Spider-Man 3 is, it is pretty well documented that he didn't really want to put Venom in it.
Hmm.
And so, like, he just wanted to have Sandman, I think, pretty much. And
Yeah,
the
but
story was focused on that. But
I feel like that movie, it just did too much stuff. There
yeah,
was just
yeah,
too much
yes,
stuff in it. And like, even if he wanted Sandman to be his villain, the way the movie was made, Venom was the villain. And I'm watching this
yes,
movie, I'm like, you could easily take out the whole Sandman storyline, no issues. And the
yes.
story works perfectly fine.
But I think
You,
he wanted those bits because those were his bits, and then the Venom bits were kind of, I think, what he was forced to add. So it had to become a bigger part of the movie because the suit becomes such a big part of
the
the
movie.
movie,
Mhm.
and but then I think he didn't want to lose the Sandman because I feel like for him, I'm just guessing. I feel like for him, he thought that was kind of the heart of the villain, like because his previous villains were kind of more likable kind of guys, and I think he knew that Venom wouldn't be that, so he kind of wanted to have Sandman and there's that like there's some I think there's some really beautiful stuff in Spider-Man 3. Like there's the bit where Sandman is coming out of the sand for the first time. He's like trying to grip the locket with his daughter in it. Like, there's some really beautiful stuff. It's a mess. Like, Spider-Man 3 is a pretty messy movie. I kind of still love it, but it is like a pretty messy movie. But there's some really nice, like, I think that was some of the stuff he wanted, and then a lot of the other stuff, like you said, it just kind of jumps from one bit to the other, and I think that's part of it as well. There's like the news report where it's suddenly Sandman and Venom are they
just
meet
working together.
and then there's a news report that does like half an hour of storytelling to like get us up to the point where Kirsten Dunst is in that taxi, and it's just like you can see that wasn't the way it was initially intended to. Like, I don't know at what point they had to change it. Like, I think it was still probably in the script, but it's like there should have been something else there that was clearly missing, which was, I think, another big problem with it. Like, say, because a lot of the individual things I like I like the Sandman and the way he's done. I like a lot of the fight scenes with him, like the scene near the train, and like when he gets the black suit for the first time, and he like grinds his face along the side of the train, like, and even a lot of the black suit stuff, like, I really like. I know people don't like Bully Parker very much. Like, he's been kind of a meme. I actually don't think he's a problem with the movie. I think he's pretty good, and he kind of matches up with this is that exaggerated. He's exaggerating the worst parts of that Peter that we've seen in 1 and 2. He's still like a corny guy, but I like that. Like, they didn't turn him into like this really, like, he's cool to a point. Like some women are attracted to him, but he's also like really cheesy, and they show that like when he comes out of the thing and he's like prancing down the street, and in his mind women are like staring at him, but then they're also just like kind of awkwardly looking at him as he walks down the street.
They're looking at him like, what the hell is that? Not like, ooh, damn, you know, like, it's very different.
I like the way they did that quite a lot. Like, I know a lot of people, it doesn't vibe for them, and that's fine. But that stuff to me feels really Sam Raimi-y, and it feels like even the music editor is like, get on up, and he's like going down the street and he's pointing his fingers. It's just, I don't know. I don't know.
I actually find the second movie is the most Sam Raimi to me.
Yeah.
Because he brings in a couple of scenes, actually, he brings in his horror background into it, which I think he does.
Dr. Octopus.
So the scene where they're in the operating room, they're going to cut it out, and it is, I'm like, this is straight out of Evil Dead. Like, the way they cut it together, the doc, like, especially the doctor's face, he has the saw in his hand, he looks to the side, he's like, okay, looks back, then you see the claw, and then he's like, you know, like, this like back and forth. You see none of the gore, but like you get the franticness of like the scene and how crazy it is. And I think if any other director did the scene or tried to do it the way he does it, it would come off as a mess. But like, especially in this, it just looks amazing.
Yeah, and it's distinctly different to the tone of the rest of the movie. Like, but it still fits really well. I agree. And I guess there's definitely that aspect. And I guess the other Sam Raimi aspect that I always think about is all of his movies are kind of cheesy. Like, even the ones that are like legitimately scary, there's a lot of cheese. And I kind of like that aspect. And like, it's a big part of like Ash from Evil Dead is that he's kind of this corny guy. And I kind of like that. To me, that black suit Spider-Man stuff or Bully Parker with the slightly emo, like where he puts his fringe down. Like, and as a, like, I was big into My Chemical Romance at the time, like Spider-Man 3 came out. Like I don't know. I just love a lot of that stuff. Like, even though I know it's not bad, no, it's not that good. I saw Spider-Man 3 actually when I lived in Japan as well. So it was like, and it was a big deal. Like, that movie was a huge release there. So I remember it was probably the first movie I saw in Japan, because when you first get here, you don't necessarily know how, like, is it going to be in English? Like, you're not really too sure. But that movie, like, I was so excited for it. And I remember going to see it with my housemates and being really excited for it and watching that movie. And the first time I saw it, I'm going to say I loved it. The first time I saw it, I loved it so much. And over time, like, there were aspects that I disliked in it for sure, but overall, just the fun of seeing a new Spider-Man movie at the cinema overwhelmed any critical thought that maybe I had at the time. It wasn't too much later that a lot of my criticisms were more about some of the side characters, like the wicked cool kids, and
yeah.
like a lot of that just felt like it was not very well done. But especially in comparison to the first two, which always had really good side characters. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. But then, like I say, I can see a lot of the criticisms are really fair as well,
Yeah.
like that people have of it. And Venom, like I quite like the way that they did Eddie Brock, like that he's more of like he's not this big bodybuilder. He's like a darker version of Peter, kind of, and um, but again, he's just kind of like a loser as well. Like
Yeah,
he's
I
lying and
yeah.
he's like, oh yeah, I'm dating your daughter. Like when Gwen Stacy's hanging off of the building, and the guy's like, I've never met you. And then he's like, well, no, you're not. They're not dating. Like he's lying about that to the dad as the daughter's hanging off a building. He's trying to big up himself and be like, I'm her boyfriend. Like, he's such a bad guy, but in like kind of a meek, kind of nerdy, kind of creeper way. And then so when he gets the suit, it kind of makes him, I feel, a bit more scary because he didn't used to be this big muscle guy. He's just this creep, and now this brings out his creepier kind of self, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I actually think when I was watching it, I was like, no, like Topher Grace's character, Eddie Brock, um, like he's playing the perfect like asshole. Like he's just
Yes.
being an asshole. And it was sort of like he's sort of the antithesis of Peter Parker. You know, he's
Yes.
got like a mirror version to it.
Yeah.
And so when he becomes like Eddie Brock after he gets the suit, you're just like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And so, but like, imagine you're already that jerk, and then all that gets amplified. You're like, this is what you get. This is what happens.
And then when he's Venom, and then when his face, they do the face peely back thing, which I actually think looks better in Spider-Man 3 than it does in Venom. Because he's so big in Venom, it always looks weird in CGI when they do the face pull back. But in this, it kind of works. But it's like stretching his face, like the tentacles, and he's got those weird fangs.
Yes, all of a sudden,
like, it's a weird look. Like it doesn't, maybe it doesn't really work, but I kind of like it. Like, I don't know, it kind of appeals to me. And I think that's the thing with Spider-Man 3 for me. A lot of it, the individual parts, even though I can, like, the movie as an overall product is really flawed, and the story especially is really flawed. But the individual aspects of it, I like so much. Like, I just find them so appealing and so entertaining. Like, Weird Venom, I like him. Sandman, I really like him. Bully Parker, I like him. Like, Gwen Stacy and the upside down kiss at the fair, and he's giving everyone like the upside down thumbs up. Like, I like all of that stuff so much. It's hard because it doesn't transform into a good movie, I guess, if that makes sense. Like this, it's one of those kind of guilty pleasure movies, I guess. It
is. I can see why you would like it. Like I get it. But like I was watching it today, and I was just like, "Here are the 800 things that's wrong with this movie." Number one.
And I'm sure they're all correct. I don't even disagree with a lot of them, and there are real points in it where I almost cringe at some of the dialogue at times. Like there's also that aspect of it, so it's like this kind of dual thing. But I don't know, and maybe it's the goodwill that the first two movies have built up too. Like I just like those characters, as flawed as they might be, and as one dimensional as they might be at times. I just like those versions of the characters so much.
But I think my problem is that like you're talking about the goodwill the other two movies like gave to it, but I think my problem is I'm like, I just saw Spider-Man 2. It was so good. What happened over here? You know, I think that's where my brain is. I think if I just happened to come across, if I just happened to come across Spider-Man 3 on like TV and sat down and watched it, I'd be like, oh, it's fine, whatever. But I think after watching Spider-Man 2 and then going right to Spider-Man 3, I was just like, no, I know you could do better. I just saw it. What is this? You know.
What do you think? Because did you know? Have you heard much about Spider-Man 4? Because it got quite far along before
Oh
they.
no. Like
Yeah,
for these Spider-Man, right?
yeah, yeah. So it was John Malkovich was going to be the villain, and he was going to be Vulture,
Okay.
and it a lot of the stuff was coming into place. I think I might be mixing this up with Amazing Spider-Man. I think they were putting Black Cat in it maybe as well.
Well, wasn't
Um,
that why they put Gwen Stacy in the third movie? I
I think so.
assumed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To do some different stuff. And it got like to the point where like there's concept art of things and stuff like that. Like it was relatively far along before I think they kind of went their separate ways. And they like from the interviews I've seen with Sam Raimi, he was like it was kind of mutual that we weren't going to agree. And I think he'd had kind of a bad time on Spider-Man 3. Like I think he loved making Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then 3 was the one where the studio got heavily involved because these were their big money makers now, right?
Yeah.
And so and I think he had a bit of a bad time, and maybe he could see that 4 was going in that direction as well, and that they were going to kind of forcing him to do things that he didn't want to do,
Oh,
use characters that he didn't want to use, so he gave up on it.
okay. So just a quick note. So John Malkovich was supposed to be Vulture, but Anne Hathaway was going to be Black
That's
Cat,
right. That's right.
but
Yeah.
it was going to be
Who
Felicia
finally became
Hardy.
Catwoman. Yeah, finally became Catwoman later
Catwoman.
on. So it's kind of
Yes.
fun.
In the
Yeah.
worst movie, but yes, sure.
And then and then they three movies seem to be hard for franchises to get right. For whatever reason, number three seemed to be difficult.
Yes.
But it, and then that obviously led straight into Amazing Spider-Man, which was like a very maybe the quickest reboot we'd ever seen at that point. I feel like of any series that I can think of. Like I think we've seen faster ones since, but like
Of
that
which franchise though? Oh,
Hulk
maybe
maybe.
Fantastic Four? Well, is no, but Hulk
Yeah,
technically
Fantastic
wasn't
Four.
like a reboot though, technically. It's technically the same Hulk. Well, no. So there's
No, the
Hulk,
Ang Lee one
and then
to the
there's
yeah,
yeah,
the
amazing.
Ang Lee one
Yeah.
to the Incredible Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe, but that actually came out. No, that would still be further in between because Hulk came out midway through the Spider-Man trilogy. So the Spider-Man crossover was obviously way quicker. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
Hulk came out in 2003 and The Incredible Hulk came out in 2008. So that's
okay,
only
so
5 years.
and what was
Yeah.
it between Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man? I feel like it might even be less, right?
Was 2012. So it's the same 5 years.
Okay, so same, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's quite quick. Like
That's
I
very
feel like even
quick.
by modern standards, that would be pretty quick. But at the time, that felt very fast to be doing a new Spider-Man movie, especially because people like, unlike Hulk, which kind of didn't perform so well, the Spider-Man movies performed really well. So like it felt like very quickly to go from this beloved franchise to, hey, we're doing more Spider-Mans over here.
Well, hold on. Hold on. So that's okay. So, Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out in 2014, right?
Yeah.
And Captain America Civil
Yes.
War came
That's
out in
probably
2016. That's two
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely the fastest, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Homecoming was the year after. So like
Yeah.
that would be like a 3 year.
3 year gap.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And that one's interesting because do you know how that kind of came to be? Like there was the so some of it was the Sony leaks and stuff that was so a lot of what was going to happen in Amazing Spider-Man 3 I think was kind of leaked. But also um from things I've read is Andrew Garfield was all set to be Spider-Man again, and then he didn't come to some like event. Like he was just like he'd had maybe he was a little bit angry with Sony or something. He just didn't turn up for an event he was supposed to be at, and so they just were like, "No, we're not doing it anymore." And so
Seriously?
yeah, and so that's what I think why it happened so quickly because then they were like, "No, we'll do this other thing with Marvel," and so they just pivoted like almost
Wow.
immediately.
Well,
Um,
because I had thought there was a like they didn't like the numbers for the second movie,
yeah,
and then B, like because Marvel was making so much money, they're like, let's make a deal with Marvel. And Marvel's like, then we have
Yeah.
to make a new Spider-Man because we're
I,
not following the storyline.
yeah, but I think maybe at a point in the discussion, Andrew Garfield might have been the MCU Spider-Man, and then he pissed them off, and he got pulled out,
I mean,
and so
I actually think Andrew Garfield is a good actor. I just disliked him as Spider-Man, and I'm really happy he's not the MCU Spider-Man.
yeah, yeah, I'm glad we got Tom Holland. Like, I think it worked out probably the best way, but I really like him as Spider-Man. I liked because I like all the Spider-Mans. Like, so I like all three of the major like live action Spider-Mans that we've got. Because to me, like, the Maguire one feels very much like the classic Spider-Man, and then Tom Holland really feels more like a modern kind of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man that we see today more so in a lot of content. And I feel like Andrew Garfield kind of fits that slightly edgier Spider-Man, like that we saw a little bit in the 90s. He's sort of a bit of a mix of that and like the Ultimate Spider-Man from the comics. And he's a bit cooler and he's a bit quirkier. And I like,
But I think
because I
that's the
really like,
problem with him, though. I think
yeah,
that's the
no, I
problem.
like that. Yeah, I like that. Especially because it's so different to Tom Holland and Maguire. Like, if he was the only Spider-Man, maybe I wouldn't like him so much. Like, I think if that was our only representation of Spider-Man, I might not feel the same way. But I did like that they did try to go in a different direction with him. And like, I like him as he's more of an outsider than a nerd. Like, they didn't lean so heavily on the nerd aspect, but he's still there's nothing wrong with, and I think this is realistic. Like, there's nothing wrong with this guy, but for some reason, jerks at his school bully him. Like, there's and that's real life. Like,
Mhm.
I like people maybe get bullied because they're nerds. I don't know, but in my experience, bullies just pick on whoever they pick on.
Yeah,
Like,
they just pick a person, and you're like, that
yeah,
you're gonna
yeah,
be it. That's
yeah,
it.
exactly. And that person's life is crap. Whether or not there's nothing wrong with that person, and I think and not that there's anything wrong with Maguire or Tom Holland either. But it just, I kind of like that version. I like that he was a skater because I like skating. And like, I like that he was just a bit more, yeah, I don't know, just a bit different. I really liked his chemistry with Emma Stone. Like, again, those movies, especially the second one, has a lot of flaws. But I think I really liked him, and I really liked his more sarcastic Spider-Man, who's a little bit mean-spirited. Like, he's
Yeah.
just like not over the top, but like he's just that little bit meaner, like where he's making fun of the guy with the knife in the first one. Like, I really, it feels distinct from the other two, where he's like, "Oh, my biggest weakness, small knives," and he's just like casually sticks a guy to a car and is kind of making fun of him and picking on him. Like, I kind of like that version. And then I think, especially when they brought him back in No Way Home, he really came in. I felt like he came into his own as like a distinct Spider-Man from the other two, which
Yeah,
which I quite
but he also wasn't. I mean, I know in the storyline he had aged up because they were supposed to,
yeah.
but but he didn't come across as an ass. Like, I really feel like Amazing Spider-Man comes across as an ass, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah, no, he is.
you're a loner because you're an ass. Like,
Yeah,
that is the reason. Like, you could tell.
yeah,
Whereas I find like Tom Holland's Spider-Man is a good combination of like the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield,
yeah.
where he's got like the little quips and whatever, and he's a little hyperactive, and
But
but
he's
his life
overall,
isn't perfect, but he's like,
yeah,
but he's good. He's overall good,
yeah, 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 yeah.
But you
I,
also
I
believe that
agree.
he's a kid. That's the thing
Yeah,
that gets me. You also
yeah,
believe he's a kid.
yeah, yeah. So,
So
so you're more likely to forgive his flaws, I think, as well, because he's a kid. And but I think, yeah, I think you're right. Like, he is a bit of a dick. Um, and so is Maguire in some ways. Like, his Parker is at times like he's super self centered. Like, and um, but I guess that's what No Way Home also. Like, I love No Way Home. I think it's a fantastic movie. And especially considering it was made during a pandemic, like that they even made something that was remotely watchable. Like, that they made something this good. I was quite impressed. But I think they kind of retroactively make the other movies better too, because you see that the characters grew a little bit. So like you've got like youth pastor Peter, where he's kind of sorted himself out a little bit, and he's like, oh yeah, I got back with MJ, but he's like, it feels like a more genuine guy. He just feels, I don't know. His edge is gone a little bit. And even the fact that for most of it he's not wearing a Spider-Man suit, he's just like wearing a t-shirt, and he's just like hanging out, and he's just got that like smile. He looks happy to be there, and he looks like this is great, and he kind of fits that mentor role. I like that. I feel like it just makes him better, and even like there's the bit where he talks about how when his uncle first died, he hurt a guy, and he wishes he could take it back. And I think it retroactively makes that first movie better, because the first movie is kind of ambiguous whether that guy died or not. That falls out the window. And in this, it seemingly Maguire's basically saying, no, I killed him. And like, I regret that I did that. And like, I think it makes it better. It also, you could ignore it and enjoy the first movies as much as you like. Like, it doesn't take anything away from those, but it's just nice to see this older kind of, like, he's worked, especially if we compare it to like Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse, who's kind of like the other way he could have gone, where he's like really messed his life up. And so it's kind of nice to see a Spider, because we don't see this ever, like a Spider-Man that's kind of got his life in order. Like, that's not a Spider-Man we're used to seeing. So
into this, like you brought up Into the Spider-Verse, like the Spider-Man in that universe who has his life together gets murdered immediws. Like, he's
exactly.
Like, he's out.
We never get to spend any time with that Spider-Man, and so it's cool to see that. And then Andrews is almost somewhere in the middle, where he's dealing with he's still dealing with a lot of the grief, and it's like he didn't get over it, but he's also like genuinely trying to be a good guy, and he's it's almost like he's stuck in the middle. And so Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire almost help him fulfill his arc, and be a better person. And like, he gets the bit where he saves I'm almost tearing up thinking that, where he saves MJ, and just because he's such a good actor, and like the look on his face when he does that, and you're like, oh man, like that's just fixed so much of the issues that the Andrew Garfield movies have by getting, like, it just shows that he can do it. Like, he can be Spider-Man, and like I really think he wanted to be like he was really trying to imitate a lot of the poses and things, and they do it more with CGI these days. But like in Amazing Spider-Man, he did a lot of those poses, and he like went out of his way to get super lean, so he was like a skinny kind of Spider-Man. Yeah. And so like, even when you see all three together, and even though they've got like similar costumes, right, because they're all Spider-Man, you can immediately tell which Spider-Man is which.
Yeah,
and like the fact that they did that is like, it's just so well done. Like, yeah, it's really impressive. It's like, that's the way he's standing. That's the Maguire Spider-Man. And like the way he's crouched down, that's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And then Tom Holland's like doing his thing over here. And it's like, they all feel distinctly different. And like, I just feel really lucky, like, that overall, while some of these movies have got flaws, Spider-Man has done like, Spider-Man fans have eaten good for a long time. Like, there are other superheroes that if you're a fan of, like, maybe, like, if you're a Superman fan, man, I feel bad for you. Like, dude, I really hope that this next one is good. Like, because you've had some rough stuff, even the good stuff, like, even like Smallville, which I have fond memories of. Man, what a mess that show was. Like,
I could not watch that show.
Yeah. But like, Spider-Man fans, with the shows, with the movies, like, most of the time we've been pretty lucky. We've got good stuff. And so, and I think No Way Home was the perfect kind of culmination of that to show like, look how lucky you guys are, and now you get it all at once, like you greedy boys. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And the thing is, it's like it was clearly fan service. They're just like, nah, the
oh
fans
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
wanted this. We're doing it, but they did it
yeah,
in such a way that you're like, no, it wasn't wedged in. It was like, no, it
yeah,
was part. They made a story, and they made this
yes,
really good story where there was a purpose for them being there. So then
100%,
it
yeah,
just worked. Like it worked really well.
yes,
And like you said, it was good to see that like they wrote like the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire characters as like not as they were in their movies, but like as
yes,
adult versions of them. So like they're like you said, wiser, better with their lives or
yeah,
still grappling with loss, whatever. But they were just better versions. So you were just like,
definitely,
oh, this is what this is like, and then they were able to within that mentor Tom Holland's like Spider-Man in that world as well,
yes.
and
And
let it
I
also
like that
let him
you,
know it'll get better, kind of thing.
yeah, I like that you use the term fan service because often people will say fan service is will use that as a criticism, but I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with fan service
Oh no.
as long as it's still in service of a story. And I think that's why for me, No Way Home 100% still works because it's still, even though we've got all of this other stuff going on and we've got these other Spider-Mans, it's a Tom Holland Spider-Man story. It's about him, and he experiences things. He goes on an arc. Um, they don't even put these other Spider-Mans in it till halfway through. Like they make sure that we know which Spider-Man we know this movie is about. But then when they bring them in, they they enhance his story because they're for the first time they're people that kind of understand him. And so yeah, you've got this kind of mentorship, but you've kind of got them also being almost like a family that none of them have ever had because they're all orphans, and now it's almost like they've got brothers, and so they're like, and like there's the part where Maguire Spider-Man is talking about how his webs work, and they're kind of like, and it just comes out of you, and then he's like, "Wait, are you guys bullying me?" And it's like this, it's just like such a, and they're like, "No, no, no, we're just really interested," and it's just like it feels like such a natural interaction between these three characters, like, and they're all distinct, even though they're all Peter Parker, they're distinctly different. Like they've got their own flavor, and like I don't know. I don't know how you make a movie that good during a pandemic with with kind of a idea that shouldn't really work. Like we're going to bring all of these villains from other movies in, and we're going to bring, and some of them people didn't even really like very much, like Electro. They're
Yeah.
like, well, we'll bring Electro in, but we'll just change him and make him cooler. Like we'll just make him better, like a better version. And you just see it, and you're like, oh, yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I'm happy to suspend my disbelief. Like even some of the flaws that I've seen people point out, I don't really think are flaws. Like there's the bit where Peter kind of goes and he gets Doctor Strange's help, and that's kind of the inciting incident. And people are like, well, doesn't Peter know that he could have gone and talked to these other people first? And it's like he's still like a kid, and we've seen throughout all these movies, he's a smart kid, but he's also kind of an impulsive kid, and he's kind of not great at social things, and he's got his challenges like we all do, and like he just didn't even he was like, I'm Spider-Man, I've got a friend that can help me. He didn't think about the other 10 things. He's just like, that'll work. And then he goes to Doctor Strange, who's the most arrogant man in the universe, and he's like, yeah, I can fix that. And he does, and yeah, maybe he shouldn't have done it, and but I think it fits that character. Like it
Yeah.
works for Doctor Strange. If it was someone else, I think it wouldn't work. But it's Doctor Strange, and we know he's arrogant, and we know that he's done stuff like this before. This isn't the first time he's messed up like on such a huge level. And so to me, that stuff works fine. Like because of the way they've set the characters up previously.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Like I think too, people watching these movies are either bystanders or people who are into comic books, right?
Yes.
And there are so many people who are like excessive sticklers for sticking to a very specific storyline.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, well, in this comic book, 842 of blah, 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 Doctor Strange is this. I don't understand why this movie, it was following that storyline and then he did something different. I'm like, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not. the comic book.
No, no.
This is a reinterpretation of that character. So if you're watching it and the character has the right motivations for the
Yes.
character they've built in this, then there's nothing wrong with it,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's my issue with like when I complain about Wonder Woman or Spider-Man, not Spider, Superman, for example. It's like you I get mad because I'm like, you clearly don't know the character. So
Yeah.
this that I
Yeah.
will get mad about. But
Yeah.
whereas like in those movies, as you said, they clearly know who the characters are
Yeah.
and they put
And
them
the
in
spirit,
situations.
spirit is right. I think
The
that's like
spirit is
the
right,
heart
yes.
and the spirit is right. You
Yeah.
can, whether or not someone uses web shooters, that's not going to make a good Spider-Man movie. Like it actually makes no difference. As much as it annoys some people for whatever reason, that's never going to be the defining factor of whether a movie is good or not.
Yeah.
If they make a Spider-Man movie where the character just doesn't feel like Spider-Man, that's when we're going to have issues
The real
with
problem.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And
Oh,
that's why like things like Man of Steel just can't work for me. It's like I don't care that you've changed aspects of the story. Like
no,
who cares?
that's not the
It just
issue.
doesn't feel like Superman to me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like the character that I love,
Yeah.
and that's the problem that I have. Yeah,
Agreed. Agreed. Um, so speaking of those web shooters, a thing that really bothered me about these Spider-Man movies is that I'm like, first of all, you've covered your web shooters. How are
yeah.
things coming out of there? First
Yeah,
of
there's a
all.
lot of things like that that don't the hairs that come out of his fingers because
Finger.
that's a movie thing. Like
Yeah.
the hairs that come out of his fingers is a movie thing. But and maybe he has really thin gloves and that's why he can't wear shoes and because I guess they're coming out of his toes as well and his kneecaps because he's often climbing with his knees.
With his
Like
knees, yeah.
yeah, which in the comics it doesn't really matter because they talk about he just sticks to things. Like it's not like a biological thing. It's like he just sticks to things,
Yeah.
and they kind of went that way in the other movies too, where they just don't explain it. I
Yeah.
think by explaining it, they actually make it weirder in the
Yeah,
Maguire
because
movie.
it
Like
it breaks the suspension of disbelief because you're just
yeah,
like, no, no, no. He sticks to walls because these things come out of his fingers, and then he touches
yeah,
the walls he can climb. But if you cover those things, how does that
yeah.
work?
Is
Like,
he
are they
ripping?
coming?
Is he like ripping through the suit every time he does
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
are they coming out of
uh,
his toes as well? Because sometimes
yeah,
he stands on a wall. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like
And I think that they
how?
are.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
is this working? Like sometimes he's in like his street clothes and he's wearing sneakers and he's walking up a wall. How is this working exactly? You know?
But the plus side of it, one you get the weird body horror, which kind of feels
Yes,
very Raimi, which
yes.
I like, especially when it comes out the first time in the school and it's like stuck to
Stuck to him. Oh,
the lunch tray and he's like and he can't get it off and it's like weirdly coming out of his wrist and then he like walks along and he's like dragging the tray through like there's some really good moments like that come from it and also like in Spider-Man 2 where emotionally he's not in a good place and his powers start to act up. Like I
mhm.
think that's a really fun and again, it's one of those things not as far as I know really ever from the comics, but it works really well for that version of Spider-Man that they've created. And then even that they reference it and then in No Way Home, oh yeah, I did kind of get a web block one time. Like there was the time when my powers didn't work very well. I think like it does create some weird stuff that you have to really suspend your disbelief for it to make sense.
Yeah.
And luckily, I think the Raimi films, because they are larger than life, we're more open to doing that than we maybe would be in the other ones. But it does also bring some kind of unique, fun elements to the character that's like unique to that version of the character, which I kind of like as well.
Yeah, which I really enjoyed. Like I love I guess this is I think the subtle details uh really got to me in Spider-Man 2. Like not got to me, like I they were more pronounced, I guess, in Spider-Man 2.
Yes,
Like he would do little things like one scene I really loved was the part where Peter's at like school, he's already having problems, and he calls Mary Jane and she doesn't pick up the phone. Um and like his time runs out on the payphone and then he's like
yes,
pretending to tell her that he's Spider-Man. But there's a shot where a camera spins around him, and there's like a wall. Like part of it is there's a wall, and it's the reflection of like tree branches. But as soon as he's like, "I'm Spider-Man," you see it, and it's like webs.
Yeah.
It looks like webs along the wall. And then when he stops talking about it and he gets sad again, it's when it comes back and it's just him. And so you're just like, it's showing like his two personas and like how it's affecting his life and all this kind of stuff. It's just like little subtle things like that. I was just like, this is amazing. I love it.
Spider-Man 2 has so many good moments too, right? Like the bit where he gives up being Spider-Man and raindrops keep falling on my head starts playing, and it's just as cheesy as the Spider-Man. I think just cheesy as Spider-Man 3 stuff, but it works better as part of that cohesive whole. Where he's just like, and then it freeze frames on him like smiling at the end just for like a second. It's just so nice, and like it's just so fun and cool and like the fight scenes are really good in that one. Like the train is the obvious sequence that you kind of go to.
Mm-hmm.
Like there aren't many better superhero sequences even now than that train sequence. Like and where he's like he tries to stop it by shooting the webs and they just snap and the guy goes, "You got any other ideas?" And he goes, "I've got a few." And he clearly doesn't. Like he clearly doesn't have any other ideas. And he's like, puts his foot down on the like railway track and it starts like all busted up. He's like, "I think I can do this." Like it's like you can see him kind of computing what he's gonna do. Well, the webs didn't work. I can't just do that. But if I put it all together, maybe I can stop this train. Like,
I did like the part where right at the end of that when he's about to fall and like the first hand comes around to hold him back. I was really just like, oh my god. Oh,
so beautiful.
They're pulling at the heartstrings right now. It's working. Yeah. It's working.
And
somehow.
Even the exertion, you can see like his suit starts to rip because he's like busting out of it. Like it feels so heroic.
It
like
does.
And I feel like we've got scenes like that in other superhero movies too. But I feel like this is just one of those moments that you're like, I get it. It's like that person feels like a hero in that moment, like more so than just a person. And then, like say they pull him in and there's that music, that kind of like angelic kind of music, and they all pass him along on top of them. And then they like give him back his mask and they're like, and it's stupid. They're like, of course someone would say, like leak his identity in real life. But in this version, they're like, we won't tell anyone. And they're like, it's so nice. Like, it's just so well done.
It's so well done. It's so well done. And like, I feel like that's how you make an emotional arc in a movie without making it cheesy or too little, like, yes, it was a big action sequence in a movie and it ends with this like heartfelt moment of people actually realizing it's just a kid doing his best to help people. Maybe we shouldn't be so mean about it.
And it's got that slightly biblical vibe that makes it seem just a little bit more than like he's a little bit more than human, but at the same time he is just a guy. Like he's a kid, and it's really good. And I think they did pretty well with like bringing that aspect of Spider-Man to life in all of the movies. So like Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, I think, probably the worst Spider-Man movie. And again, I still like a lot of aspects of it. Like there's a lot of good stuff in there. But maybe one of my favorite Spider-Man scenes in any of the Spider-Man movies is in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
And there's a scene where this kid's getting bullied and he's got a science project and these kids, they break it. And Spider-Man kind of comes down and helps this kid. And I think it's the same kid it might be the same kid that turns up at the end of the movie. But he helps him basically fix his science project and he's like just talking to him and being like nice to a kid. And that to me is like such a Spider-Man thing. Like because with Spider-Man, you want the big stuff. Like Spider-Man goes to space. Spider-Man saves the world. Like he does all of those things too, but he's just a guy and he wants to do good things. And like we see it with Tom Holland one where he's like returns people's bikes or like and
gets a cat out of a tree and
like all of that sort of stuff is as much Spider-Man as the supervillains are. and it's much like Superman. I think like they're quite similar in that regard. That the small acts they do are as important as the big acts that they do, and we don't see that with a lot of superheroes. I feel
Well,
I
because
think that's
it's
quite unique.
because I think they remember it's about the the little picture matters as much as the big picture.
Yeah,
Like yes, I know I'm trying to save the world, but like that kid to survive needs his dog out of
yeah,
the tree. I'm gonna help this kid
yeah,
get
yeah,
his dog from the tree or the cat from the tree or whoever, just
yeah,
to be like. And later on, this kid's gonna be like the greatest kid ever. So you
yeah,
don't know what
yeah,
this kid can be later if I do this
yeah.
one nice thing for them, kind of thing.
And even things like helping villains, like is another thing that he does more so than other. Like he doesn't want to fight the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin kills himself by an act that Spider-Man can't stop, and then he takes him home because he doesn't want his friend to find out like what happened, and he ends up getting the blame because he does this, but he does it anyway because it's the right thing to
Thing to
do,
do. Hmm.
and like, and we see that over and over again with like this character, and even though like even when they falter, like in No Way Home, there's a part where Tom Holland's like, I just want to send them all home and deal with and deal with it. And then Aunt May's like, well, no, you don't get to do that. Like, you can help these people and you need to help them. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And so, and even though that backfires like so badly for him, and like that he loses the most important person in his life, um, he still, I think, would go and do it again because he knows that she was right and that was the best way. Like he had to try and help them before he sent them home. Like and like that stuff for me is just like so ingrained with Spider-Man, and all of the movies I think got that pretty right. Like
Yes. That is,
even when the movies were not getting it right.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think all of the Spider-Men, I feel, come across as Spider-Man. Like
Yes.
they're Spider-Man. I may not like the story. I may not like who they cast as that person. Because like I said, I think my biggest problem with Andrew Garfield's version of him, he's an ass. But like you
Yeah.
watch the movie though, but he is Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
does the
Yeah.
right thing. He wants to help the people, the small guy, the big guy, whoever in between. He's there to help, you
Yeah.
know. And Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland it's exactly the same thing, like you
Yeah.
said. And so,
The
but
kid
they
on the bridge in Amazing Spider-Man, the kid on the bridge is stuck in the car, and he like climbs down to him, and he like the kid's too scared to climb out, and he gives him the mask. He's like, "Put the mask on; it will help you like climb up to me." So like even Andrew Garfield, who is that slightly more dickish version, like when it matters, he's that heroic guy,
go.
and
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's and it like and that's heartening to see that no matter which version of the Spider-Man we've had, and it's there. It's in the Into the Spider-Verse movies too.
Definitely.
Like like those movies that we haven't talked much about them, but again, Spider-Man movies, and they get that even though it's a different character. There's still that kind of deeper. I need to be a hero. I need to help the people around me. Um, there's more than it's more than just me. It's like I'm a hero for everyone.
Yeah. And he's not, and he always knows he's not perfect, but
Yes.
he's like,
Yes.
I'm gonna try my best. This
He
is
was
what I'm going
strive
to
to do
do.
better. Yeah,
Yeah.
strive to do
And I
better.
think, yeah, and like you said, like, yeah, we can definitely talk about those Into the Spider-Verse movies because they're fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
I
really good.
cannot wait for the third part to come out.
Yeah,
But also, yeah, like this is a completely different character in a different world, Miles Morales, and but you can still see the same uh personality traits in him
yes,
that
yes,
makes him Spider-Man. And you're like, yeah, this is what Spider-Man is supposed to be about. Like this is what he is. He is a naive kid, yes, but he still wants to help. He still wants to do the right
yes.
thing. And even in the second movie when uh what is it? Spot, what do they call him? Spot? The Spot?
Spot, yeah, the
Yeah.
spot, yeah,
Um he comes across at first he's just like I have a busy life. I'm trying to ignore you, but I'm gonna stop you. And then he comes back, and yes, he's more dangerous. But even Spider-Man's like, look, I'm sorry, that really wasn't nice of me to say about
Yeah.
you earlier. I get it,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
you
He
don't have
grows.
to
Yeah.
you don't have to destroy everything because you're mad at me.
Yes. Yes.
So like he knows how to he wants to correct, or he wants to fix his flaws, or he wants to fix any perceived wrongs that he's done. He's going to try to do the right thing, which I think is great.
And I think with Miles, especially, he was a great character in the comics, but I feel like the movies actually made him better. Like they because he was a relatively new character too.
Yeah.
Like so much of his personality was more became more defined. I feel like in the movies, and then that fed back into the comics as well in like a really positive way. But yeah, it's just it's so nice, and like the way like he, they twist things. It's like it's the same story as Peter Parker, but twisted. So his uncle is not like the good guy, but he still learns from him. I love that. Like even though his uncle's doing the wrong thing, he still takes a lot away from his uncle, which like really cleverly done. Like it would be so easy just to make him like the big bad villain, but he's like even though he's doing bad stuff, he's still kind of he still cares about Miles, and the fact that he turns on the other bad guys to make sure Miles is safe at one point, like
Immediately.
and ends up getting him killed, and like just like oh, it's so good. And then even like Gwen Stacy as well is like so good in those movies. Like she's good in the first one, and then the second one, oh, like again, she's just like that whole first sequence where we just spend with her, and we see like the struggles she's having with her dad hates Spider-Man and or Spider-Woman, and but she's that, and then like and then the way they tie that all in with the captains being the part of this bigger web of destiny and stuff, and what that means for them. Now they both know that their dads are like destined to die,
Yeah.
and how the two of them like Gwen clearly has an issue with it, but she kind of goes along with the group because she needs something in that moment to like get her through it. And then whereas Miles is like, no, this is not right. Like if we're able to save people, we have to save them,
Mm-hmm.
whether it causes a mess or not. And the difference between like 2099 and a lot of the others spiders who are like, we have to take this L for the rest of the world to be a win. And then Miles is like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. And like I'm not about to get down with that. And that his influence then is on like on Gwen and Peter B. Like they see actually why are we doing like we shouldn't be going along with this either. And so then they kind of turn to his like they follow his path. It's just oh, it's so well done. And then Hobie Brown as well, like Spider Punk, who's like barely in the comics, but immediately became like one of my absolute favorite comic characters. And then the movie just made him again like they just took the core of this guy and made him so much better. Where he is exactly that. He's like anti-establishment, and he's like hanging out with these guys, but he clearly doesn't agree with them. And he's like right the way through like Miles wants to hate him because he clearly has had this relationship with Gwen, but he's like, I can't hate you because you're so
So
cool.
cool.
Cool guy. And then
I like what he first takes off his mask, and he's like, how are you cooler under the mask? Like this doesn't
yeah,
make any sense. Yeah.
and he's like, I was always cool. And like, yeah. But even though he can feel that and he can sense that with Miles, he's also trying to mentor him a little bit. He's like, don't get into this until you know what it is. And he's giving him that, like, he's really in that moment the only one looking out for Miles, even though he's the guy that Miles feels like he should hate the most of all of the Spider-Man. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's such good storytelling, it's such good character development, and you've got 100 of the same character, but they all feel unique and they all have
Completely
their own.
different.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's I don't like I don't know how you make a movie that good. Like I just
Well,
like it's yeah.
and the thing is too within that movie, like yes, there's thousands of Spider-Man in it, but you get introduced to what, like seven new Spider-Man
Yes.
Spider-Men and women that are like the core of the story. And usually adding that many characters into such a dense story already, you'd be like, why do we need to know
Yeah.
all these people? But like you're watching it, and like, I know exactly why you need to know all these people. And I feel like I actually know all of these people
Yes.
and they all have a purpose, you know? And even
And then,
some of them, you don't even spend that much time. Like the, for example, the girl who's technically like an avatar controlling the machine.
Spider Bite. Yeah,
Yeah,
Spider Bite.
like you
Yeah.
don't even spend that much time with her, but even by the end of the movie, you're just like, I know exactly who this character is. Like I know
Yes.
who she is,
And,
what her purpose
and they
is.
kind of have like a bit of a relationship forming almost.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of a spark. Like, and like you say, they're together in a scene for like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and it's a scene with a lot going on. Like as well. Like, and that they still have the time for those character moments. Like the other thing that I think is really smart, like in the second one, is obviously we had Noir and Penny Parker and Spider Ham, and they don't really use them in the second one. And like they bring them back kind of right at the end, but they're like they don't want to overload it too much. Like I feel like a less skilled director would be like, well, we have to bring them back
Yeah.
because we see them in the last one. We need to know what they're doing, and but we don't. We can spend some time with these other ones, and then we know they're coming back. Like we know we're going to see them in the future, and we don't feel like we're missing out because we're getting all these other great new characters, and like the new Spider Woman, the pregnant Spider Woman, like she's so
Yes.
cool, and
She's very
like
cool, yeah.
yeah,
But she's like, but you can tell that she has a very specific goal and a very specific
yes,
space. And she's not trying to be the bad person either, but she's
yeah,
like, I would rather be mean to you
yeah,
than to destroy things for everybody else. Or like to keep the status quo, I should say. I should say this to
yeah,
keep the status quo. When really, like with Peter, sorry, with Miles, where it's just like, but the status quo is dumb. I understand why you're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but it is dumb. We
yeah,
should be doing these other things, you know?
yeah, yeah, and like even like that she has these. It's like she's starting to get these motherly tendencies towards Gwen. Like she's starting to feel them, but it's almost like she hasn't had her kid yet. So it's not a fully formed motherly thing. She's kind of trying to be her mum, but also her friend at the same time. And like I really hope that we might get a little bit of a time jump and maybe the baby is in the next one.
What?
Because one, it's nice to have more spider babies. But also I think it'll be interesting to see how her character changes. Like uh, I feel like there's a very specific reason that you make her pregnant is because you want that to be an aspect of her, and and I think that they did a good job of like not beating you over the head with it, but just like putting that nice little character stuff just
Yes.
in there. Um, and then she hasn't given up being Spider Man. Like she's still doing it. Like she's still putting herself at risk, even though maybe that's not the best idea, because she's still a Spider-Man, and so she's still got like that aspect to her personality. Like it's just I don't know, it's just so cool. Like it's just
It
such a
is.
cool series of movies.
Yeah.
And I feel like they couldn't have existed like before now because I feel like we had to almost have the other Spider-Man movies for especially for non-comic readers to set up what Spider-Man is so that we could do this twist only works because we know we're so familiar with Spider-Man. We're
Yes.
so familiar with the core of Spider-Man so that when we give you Miles who's like he's his own character but he's also sort of a remix and then you've got a Peter Parker that's kind of like it's basically the Maguire one but if he really went downhill and and all of those characters are, and then you've also got the one we get kind of really briefly at the start, who is the Spider-Man that sorted out his life, and he's like the perfect Spider-Man, and it's those twists only work because we've had the other Spider-Mans that came
Well, yeah,
first.
I also think the twist of like, you know, what's the quote unquote bad Spider-Man at the end? Who's like in charge of everything? Uh
2099.
is that 2099? Is
Yeah,
that who that
yeah,
is?
yeah,
Well, so and the thing is, because we have all the knowledge of Spider-Man, the 2099 Spider-Man is it's a shock his like attitude
yes,
towards Miles, A, and B is the fact that he's like he is in charge of doing this stuff
Yeah.
is a shock to not just Miles but to the audience, because we're like,
Yes.
but that's not Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
It's like the step back. You're like, no, that's not what Spider-Man does.
Yeah.
So because we have all of this knowledge about Spider-Man, that works. Or
Yeah.
else you just be watching a movie like, oh, that guy's the villain, and not really think about
Yeah.
it, or
And when
why
you
it's
get
such a
hear his
betrayal.
backstory, yeah, and when you hear his backstory, you kind of get it too. Like you kind of get how that Spider-Man got to that point, and you're like, oh, okay. Like he's not a bad. Like he does think he's doing the right thing. Like he's not. And a lot of people, a lot of these other Spider-Mans from the path that they've been on are agreeing with him at this point. Whether they agree fully is like it kind of varies from Spider-Man to Spider-Man, but they are to an extent all kind of fulfilling the status quo. And
Yeah,
it's
they're
almost like,
complacent with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, and obviously some of them change their minds, but also some of the Spider-Mans that they like leave out, like so that we don't see, like there are live action characters, but we don't see Maguire there, for example, because it would be impossible to believe. I think that he would get on board with that. So that he's like, and like it's really interesting to see which Spider-Mans they pick and use in the different places, because you need Spider-Man that are a little bit broken to like get on board with some of this stuff. Yeah, it's like I don't know, I think it's kind of like a masterpiece. I think those two movies are like just like I really hope that the third one sticks to the landing.
Yeah.
And I know we've had to wait a lot longer than we ever expected. We had to wait for it, but I'm okay with it as long as it is as good as these first two.
Yeah, I think also Chris Miller and who's the other guy? Um
Lord,
yes,
it's,
Lord.
yeah,
Yes, Lord's his last name. Miller
yeah,
and Lord. I feel like one of the reasons why, not just because they're having labor issues with their animators and stuff like that, but
yes,
I
yes,
also feel like they're the kind of people who want to put out something good, not just something
yeah,
fast, but something
yes.
good that actually properly reflects the story that they're trying to tell. And I honestly think like they are going to do everything they possibly can to make
I
it
think
the
so.
best that they
Yeah.
can.
And I think they've
And
fought enough clout with Sony that Sony will let them.
we'll let them
I hope so.
fingers
Like,
crossed, yeah.
yeah,
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 and I think that's a better way to do, because because one of the things that frustrates me as well is that like back in the day you'd get a superhero movie once every like 3 4 years, right?
yes,
And that was fine, right? But now they're just like, oh no, we're making money, we have momentum, we have to put out a superhero like every 6 months or
yeah,
every year. And then studios are surprised when the audience are like, this is shit. It's
yeah,
because you're not letting people write and fill
yeah.
out a proper story and create a proper character and actually like make a film that properly reflects what they're trying to say. It's just like,
Have
no,
you?
it's fine. We will just put this out. But no,
Yeah,
that's not right.
it does feel like they're learning their lesson. I don't. Have you seen Thunderbolts? Yeah.
Yes, I have. I
Oh,
saw it
yeah.
yesterday.
Obviously, we'll like avoid spoilers and things because it's very brand new. But I like that to me feels like a movie that they've kind of got what they were doing wrong for a while, and I feel like they've tried to correct, but in a good way. Like they've learned the right
Yes.
lessons,
Yeah.
and they it feels more like it's still a Marvel movie, like it's still an MCU
Mhm.
movie, but it feels like it had a creative vision as well. Like you can have both, and like it's okay, I think, to have both. And I think like a lot of like again, Spider Man's done pretty well. Like I think all of the MCU Spider Man movies. I don't know how you. I really liked all of
I
them.
really like them. I am very fine
Um,
with all of them. Yeah.
like Homecoming, like the stuff with Homecoming with Vulture, and especially like the bit in the car, like
So
before he goes
scary.
into like the prom or whatever it's called, and he's like he threatens this kid with a gun, and he's like, now go and dance with my daughter and have a good night, and Spider Man leaves, and it's another one of these great moments where he leaves and he could just go and have a good night, and he could just ignore that, but he can't. Like he can't, and he has to. Like even though he knows it's going to fuck up his whole life, he has to make the choice to go and stop the bad guy. And like maybe that's even a character flaw. Like maybe even at a point you should say you shouldn't do that. Like you should live your own life. But it's such a cool aspect of Spider-Man that makes him unique and distinct. I think that he will always do the right thing. He might make the wrong choice first and then go and do the right thing eventually, but he'll always get to the right point in the end.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Like, I was actually surprised how they were able to make such good Spider-Man movies, like these Marvel ones.
Yeah.
Because especially by the time they made Far From Home, you started seeing like the cracks in the storytelling and all this kind of stuff. But they managed to like keep it together, you know?
Yes.
And then the like Infinity War happened and Endgame happened. And then and then the like I know the No Way Home came out before Thor Love and Thunder and Quantumanium and stuff. But I was really scared about like how are they going to tell this story now? Like how is this going to work?
It was the first post Endgame movie, I think, right? No Way
Home? No, actually Far From Home. Yeah.
Far From Home was the first one post Endgame.
I think so. Yeah. But by that third movie, I was very scared that I was like, oh, they've lost the story. I don't think they know where they're going.
And even when you knew that they were bringing in all these other characters, you're like fearing that they've made it too big. Like you like, and they nailed it. But like I had a lot of fear, and because I love and I feel like this one's a bit underrated, but I really love Far From Home, where he's in Europe, because we've never seen Spider-Man kind of outside of New York City before, and it's so fun just to see him on holiday with like on a school excursion, and like the way they do. Because that's post blip, is it? No, that's post Endgame. So,
that's post Endgame. Post Endgame, yeah.
Because you've got the one guy that grew up in between. So yeah. And like all that stuff is just so fun, and like they did Mysterio so well. Like they did a really good job of, in all of the movies, having like one MCU character. So they had like Iron Man in the first one, and they had like the Nick Fury that wasn't really Nick Fury in the second one, but also kind of Mysterio sort of filled a bit of that role as well as that mentor. And then in the next one, the mentor were the other Spider-Mans, and you have that little taste of Doc Strange as well. Like they did a good job of like tying it in with the bigger stuff, but keeping it being a Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
And even though this Spider-Man had help from Iron Man and stuff, he still feels like Spider-Man. And like at the end,
yeah, I just want to say, like, I the thing I liked about it is that despite it not being in New York, and then Mysterio showing up, making it think like it's this interdimensional issue.
Yes,
it wasn't. It was actually like a small problem. It was like a petty man who was mad, and it's this kid, trying to get up the courage to tell a girl that he likes her.
Yeah.
And, how do I balance that while Nick Fury is calling me every day and shit's falling apart? Like, I just want to be a kid for 5 minutes,
Yeah. And I'm trying to be on holiday with my friends, and then my other best friend's got a girlfriend now, and like, how do I deal with that? And like, it's so good. And that, like the Night Monkey, like that he's like undercover Spider-Man, and there's like Venetian mask Spider-Man, and then there's like Night Monkey Spider-Man, and he's like, I can't be Spider-Man. I've got to be like, I've got to keep it on the down low. And then at the end, when Happy comes and picks him up from like the Netherlands or wherever he ended up, and he like gets in. And he makes his he's using the Tony Stark equipment, but he like designs his own suit with the fabric in it. Like it's such a nice thing. And this is a different version of Spidey, and he's got extra toys that the other Spideys don't have. But again, I think by the third one you can do that. Like that's okay. Yeah. Like it's okay that he's not exactly the same as he always, and he has those friends in the comics too. Like that's not unique to that version of Spider-Man. Like in the comics, in issue one, he goes and tries to join the Fantastic Four and get help. Like, he's always had those connections to the bigger universe. And he had that Marvel team up comic was like a thing for decades. Where it's
Yeah,
just
with him
Spider-Man.
and Wolverine did a big
Yeah,
long stint and all
yeah,
kinds of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
There's like it's not unique. So I think they did a good job. But then you finally get him coming into his own, creating his own suit, and then that fully fulfills itself post No Way Home, where he's lost everything, and he literally again, maybe he sews a very nice suit that might be slightly unbelievable for a kid his but like that we see him actually sewing it like in the like, and I think that's the first time. Maybe I think we might see Andrew Garfield sew his suit, but even though like it's implied with Maguire, but like we see him like literally sitting there like sewing it in this like shitty apartment because he has no friends or family anymore, but he's still got his little radio and he's still trying to do the right thing. It's like, I can't wait to pick up with that Spider-Man and see where he's at next. Like, it's just they left it on they told such a full story and then still left it on such a great cliffhanger. Like, it's I don't know.
Because it's at a point where like if they don't make another Spider-Man movie, it'll be sad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, you've completed the story.
And you
But
can still believe he's out there somewhere.
he's just
Like,
out
even
there.
though we don't kind of see him in the movies, like he's out there. And like, even if it was just things like in Daredevil where they mentioned there's a spider guy around, like they could do that. Like they could do that for a while and then eventually introduce Miles or whatever. But I really, and it sounds like they're starting on it kind of nowish. But like, I'm really keen to see where Tom Holland's Spider-Man goes next as well.
Yeah. I'm really interested in that too.
Because I want MJ and Ned back. And like, do we get him with like a whole new supporting cast? At least for a while, I think we probably will. Like, I don't think that's the end of MJ or Ned, but like, I think we're probably going to pick up with new friends and new kind of like, because he's had to start a new life as much as anything, and that's going to be really weird, like, but also really interesting, I think.
Yeah. Like you just want to see, because he's always been like such a like an awkward, strange guy.
Yeah.
You want to see, does he like as he gets older, does he actually figure out how to talk to people and make friends, and or is he just like stay a loner and he like gets bitter, or maybe he stays a loner but stays really positive, and that's what allows him to be Spider-Man more than like when he has like friends and family to take care of or whatever, you know? So
it's going to be
really
interesting. And hopefully they're making it. One, I think that they know that you shouldn't mess up a Spider-Man movie. Like, I think that they know they need to give it the time and care that it needs because it's one of their tentpoles, right? Like, it's like you do an Avengers movie, you don't want to fuck that up. Like, you don't want to mess up whatever the next Spider-Man is. And it also seems like they've learned some of the lessons and some of the missteps of the MCU, and he's coming back now. They're making this. His movies kind of avoided that because he was like the last of that time before there was a bit of a bumpy period. And then he's hopefully coming back at the point where they've kind of adjusted a little bit and maybe making less movies and trying to give them a bit more love and care.
Or maybe they actually know what story they're trying to tell, because like I said, Thor: Love and Thunder, they clearly did not know what actual story they were trying to tell. It didn't make any sense. Because they introduced a great villain who does nothing throughout the whole movie. And then everything else
stuff in the movie. Like, and that's some of the hardest things with like those. And I don't think I disliked it as much as you. I think it's still one of the worst Marvel movies. But like, there's a lot of really good stuff in it. Like the stuff with the daughter and stuff. Like, there's like a lot of really nice stuff in there. It's just kind of
they just did it wrong. I don't know.
Of the movie. Like, and it's
and then Quantumanium came out after that, and that was horrendous.
You see, I didn't hate that either. Like, but I feel like the only thing I guess I've really disliked, I really didn't like Secret Invasion.
That was bad.
Yeah, that was the only one. Because, like, even Eternals, like, I know a lot of people didn't love Eternals. I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, it's not a movie I'm going to go back and rewatch over and over. But, like, I don't know. I enjoyed it well enough. But I'm glad to see that the kid, it feels like it we're finding a more consistent vibe now. Like even like I really quite liked the last Doctor Strange, like, but
Yes.
it's still a bit of a messy movie. Like it's
Mhm.
still not quite as good as I feel like it should be. Even though, luckily, you've got Scarlet Witch and you've got Doctor Strange and that kind of, and you've got Sam Raimi, and so you've got like a lot of good things that kind of make it all work. I feel like there was just a little something missing in that movie that wasn't. It didn't quite have the same magic that some of like that I feel like Thunderbolts had, for example, or that I feel like No Way Home has, or that Infinity War, Endgame, Guardians, like all of those movies, like they have that. The Captain America movies, like they had that little something that was just special, and I feel like that last Doctor Strange was just, even though I really like it, it was missing something, and I feel like a lot of the ones in between kind of were missing that little something, and I don't know what that something is, but
Yeah.
it's just not quite right.
I don't know. I feel like that second Doctor Strange movie, I actually quite enjoyed it. Like I didn't hate it or anything. But I also feel like they should have just done a second season of WandaVision instead of making that movie. Um, or even Agatha all along. Like I liked it, but I
Yeah,
just found it really unnecessary.
yeah.
Uh,
I
but
liked Evil Wanda quite a lot though. Like she was so good at that.
she was good. She was very good
Like,
at being
yeah,
evil. And I feel like it like but this is why I'm saying I feel like it would have worked better in maybe like instead of 10 episodes, maybe like 6 episodes, like a
yeah,
one-off. The last 6 episodes are just Wanda being evil, and then Doctor Strange shows up at the end and like stops her or something. Like I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Um,
I think they could have expanded it because she did go. It felt like she was kind of doing better at the end of One Division, and then it was quite a dramatic
but
turn.
yeah,
Even though it kind of makes sense that she was kind of masking, and actually she was never doing better, but she just kind of put things back together and then went on her next trip to try and get a kid. It, it was like it worked, I think, but I just feel like a lot of them were missing something. Or we had the other problem where I think you got something really good, like a Shang-Chi, and then they didn't capitalize on it. Like he's just been sitting off in limbo ever since. And then you had other kind of sort of weird in-betweens where you had like Ms. Marvel, I really loved, and then they did the Marvels, which I like,
I
but
really liked it.
it's also kind of nothing. Like it also doesn't feel like it's a super light popcorny kind of. It doesn't, and I don't think that every Marvel movie has to push stuff forward, but it just kind of. It also doesn't feel like it does a lot. Like it gets by a lot on the charm of that cast. Like and because like Brie Larson, I know for whatever reason some internet widows don't like her. I think she's fantastic as Captain Marvel, and Ms.
Agreed.
Marvel is like the best thing that they've added to the MCU in like a long time. And then what's her name? The Monica Rambeau.
Rambo, yes.
Yeah, she's really good too. And so like they get a lot of they get a lot out of those three kind of having wacky misadventures together, even
Yeah,
if it's not other than that.
but I
Like,
also think one of the reasons why it doesn't do as well as it should is because it's also yes, we had Miss Marvel and yes, we had Captain Marvel, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um but and WandaVision, but also it's like also a continuation of Secret Wars, which came out right before the movie, and everybody's all
yeah,
mad that that movie exists, that show existed because it was so
yeah,
bad, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was a bit of a yeah. I think they've got in a lot of directions, and it feels like for better or worse, I hope it feels like they have a stronger idea of what's next, which I think because I think that was actually the bigger problem that a lot of the individual movies is people knew something was coming next, but it almost felt like there were three or four things because you had like Kang, and then you had like more general multiverse stuff, and then you had X-Men, and then your new Fantastic Four were out there, even though we hadn't seen them yet. And so you kind of had like, and then you had the Skrulls as well. So you kind of had like all of these things, and it was almost like they had too many pots on the boil, and no one knew which pot was going to be the pot to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And so everything was trying to include everything. And I think that kind of derailed stuff. Like, again, I don't want every movie to have to be the next Avenger thing. Like, I want movies to stand alone as well. But I do think maybe they struggled with having a core key vision of what was next. And it feels like they have that now with the Doctor Doom stuff and the maybe they're dropping a lot of the Kang stuff, and like it
Yeah.
feels like maybe they are hopefully a little more focused on one thing. I think going
Well,
as a big thing.
but I think my biggest problem with the later movies is that they were trying so hard to be like, well, Endgame happened and everything was big. So all of the
Yes,
movies, everything has to be big.
big. Yeah,
And one of the reasons why I think Thunderbolts works and like why we like the Spider-Man movies so much goes back to it's small, like it's small.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
saving the galaxy, it's not trying to kill a god essentially.
yeah,
It's like, oh, you have a guy who is depressed. Let's help this guy. He might have
yeah, yeah,
superpowers, but we're helping him, you know? Or it's a kid on vacation who just wants to have a fucking vacation. But this
yes,
guy who's all mad about some guy who died 5 years ago is all butthurt about it and ruining his trip, you know?
yes,
And even if it's disguised as being big, if you pay attention, it's actually quite a small,
yeah,
like it's a compact story that's not
yes.
about everything. It's
Yeah, and the
about this
stakes can still
simple
be big,
thing.
like long term. Like I think with, and I don't want to get spoilery with things. So, but like you can have a villain that, if we don't succeed now, could destroy the world. But in this moment, that's not the stakes we're dealing with. So, like, I think that works really well. It's a bit like I'm assuming you watch Daredevil, and so like Daredevil again works because the stakes are they're big for the character, but they're also understandable for us as people. Like we can relate to them, and I mean, I think it helps that a lot of the Mayor Fisk stuff mirrors US politics at the moment, and I think some of that was maybe a lucky accident as well. But like it that we can relate. It feels really relatable. And I think it's the same with the Spider-Man stuff. It feels really relatable. The Thunderbolts characters feel really relatable.
Like,
And maybe some of those other characters, we lost that a bit as well.
yeah,
Like Quantumania doesn't feel like, and again, I didn't hate the movie, but like it, it's not that relatable. It's weird, and it's like weird to the point that it's hard to fathom what exactly is going. Like, what is this universe that they're in, and what does that mean for everyone else?
yeah.
And like it's not that clear. It's not like really
Well,
clearly defined.
but
And
also I've mentioned this before on the podcast. The thing that makes me so mad about Quantumanium is that you've had what 4 movies to talk about Ant-Man, right? So you had the two
yeah,
Ant-Man movies, Ant-Man, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then he shows up in like Endgame and all that kind of stuff, right? So he's there. He's like been in Civil War and he
yeah,
set up rules on how the Ant-Man suit works.
yes,
And then so we spent all this time learning about this suit, how it works in the world, even how it works in the quantum universe and whatever. And then we get to the quantum universe. We're in this weird world that doesn't actually make any sense. They make no rules for this world, whatever. We don't even know why we're there. But then also they break all the rules about Ant-Man that they've set up in all of this time we've spent with
yeah,
him so far. And that was the thing that got me more mad about it than the weird world. I was just like, but he
yeah.
can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. You
And I think
know?
the other problem with that one as well. And again, overall, I like it because I like Paul Rudd, and I enjoyed most of that movie, even though it again is not what I've watched. I don't think I've watched it again, but it feels like it's a Kang movie. Like it's a
It was
movie
supposed to
designed
be.
to
Yeah.
introduce Kang, and they just used Ant Man. Like they could have used any hero. It didn't really matter which one they used, because it didn't feel like because the growing and shrinking in that universe doesn't feel unique like it does in our universe. Like it feels
But the problem
like
is he should not be able to grow and shrink in that universe because that was we were told that from movie 1 that he should
yeah.
not be able to do that in that universe,
And
right?
even if we think he's, I don't know, he's upgraded his suit, he's broke. I don't know how he's done it. Like, but but yeah, it does. It's less meaningful when he's not standing next to a building that we recognize, or it's less meaningful when he's not in a bathtub, because he's on this blobby thing. We don't know how big it's meant to be, and we sort of his whole power is scale, and we don't really get a good idea of scale in that movie.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I just hope, I guess, that we're going to get more Spider-Man No Way Homes and more Thunderbolts in the future. I'm always going to be optimistic. I think they know that there were some problems and that they're working on it, and I think that's all you can ask, right? And hope that it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, I always hope, but I still put down my money, watch these movies, and get either real happy or real mad about it. So let's see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there was at a point when I didn't go see Madam Web. And then that made it easier to not see Venom 3 and not see Craven or whatever. But there was a point where I'm like, I'm a Spider-Man fan, and I love Spider-Man, and I kind of just want to see what it is because I'm curious. But at the same time, I'm like, there's so many good Spider-Man things I can put my money towards. Like, there's the new Spider-Man cartoon on Disney Plus, so good. Like, watch that instead. Like, or read a comic, or buy some new action figures. Like, do something else. You don't need to spend your time over in Madam Web.
Really don't.
It'll be on Netflix, and you'll be bored enough or sick enough that you'll watch it one time, and then watch it. Then, I think as a fan, it's kind of liberating as well. To kind of know your limits a little bit. I mean, like, just because I love Spider-Man, I don't have to do everything Spider-Man. Like, I can miss Madam Web. You'll be okay.
I really keep trying to tell myself that, and then I still end up going out and watching it. Or somebody's just "Hey, did you see this new movie yet? No. Did you want to go?" I'm like, okay. Like, it just.
If I have an opportunity to go to the cinema, I'll see almost anything as well. Yeah. So, if it's harder because being a parent, not always having, it's not always easy for me and Sally to go out together to see a movie. So I tend to see movies, I either really want to see them, so I go by myself, or I find another friend to come with me, or we try and organize a babysitter, but that's often quite hard. Or the flip side is I'm away for work, and I've got nothing better to do, and those are the times when I see Morbius, or those are the times when I see those kinds of movies, because I'm like, I just really want to go to a movie. Like, I just want to have a movie experience, and I don't really care what it is. I'll just go see it. And I've seen a lot of movies that way too. So, yeah.
I've seen many movies that way. Oh, it's great. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we talked about a lot about Spider-Man and all the superheroes.
Yeah, we've got on a lot of tangents. One thing we haven't talked about, the suit, the Green Goblin suit.
It's like the pseudo mechanical aspect of it.
Power Ranger suit. I've heard it called that, and I don't think it's unfair. I like it. It doesn't look metal enough. Like, it just doesn't quite. Like, if you look at the Iron Man suits, especially the earlier ones when they were more physical, they feel kind of bulky, and that suit feels like it's made of plastic. It feels like a plastic suit, and I don't hate it. Like, it's not the best, and I wish they'd gone a different way, but and also covering up Willem Dafoe's face. So that's the thing that they got right in No Way Home. They were just like, let's just make it his face, and not he can wear this, because the suit itself is not bad, and then just take that weird mask off, and then because his face is so Green Goblin-y already. We don't need to cover him up.
Yeah, but wasn't the whole point that he was trying to hide that it was Norman Osborn?
It was. But still, maybe that was a bad choice. I don't know. It works for the movie, I think. Have you ever seen the screen tests of the suit that they nearly used?
No, I don't think so.
So there's this it's animatronic mask. It looks very much like the comics. So it's got the ears, it's got the big hook nose, and it's there's a few shots of it out. You can find it on YouTube and stuff. You can see it like moves its eyes and eyebrows and stuff. Like it's a much more physical, moving kind of makeup almost
So
than
they've made him look more like organic instead of machiney.
he basically looks just like the comics.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's basically the comic book mask, but it moves as well. So like it's not really a mask. It's like it's a moving face over the actor's face. Um, and I guess they thought it was maybe one too scary, and I think two it didn't feel like believable. I guess within the world that they had set up, but it looks really good. Like it could have been pretty cool. I think it
Yeah,
almost sort of
sometimes.
worked
Oh,
like the turtles.
that is terrifying.
Yeah, and maybe it's too scary for kids. Like maybe you can't merchandise that Green Goblin. I don't know.
I don't think so. That is terrifying. Oh my God. Jeez. Yeah, I see why they didn't pick that. I get it.
Do you
Um, yeah.
Another question on going back to the Maguire ones? Do you kind of remember the hype for the first movie? Like, was it a big deal for you when it was coming out, or was it
Oh yeah, no, this was a big deal when it first came
like
out.
it was the movie
Yeah.
of a few
Well,
years? I feel
because
like
only a couple of years before X-Men came out, um, and it was fine and like everybody saw it, but it
yeah,
wasn't like great as people were
yeah.
expecting it to be. So
The
when
first X Men
Spider-Man was,
movie, I saw it in an empty cinema with like my friends. We
oh
were the only.
really?
It was empty, and
Oh
it was
my,
during exam week and during the day. Like so maybe, but I feel like X Men grew too. Like X Men built. Like I think it didn't do that well at first, and then people were like, "No, it's pretty good," and then more people went and saw it
so
as well, and
yeah.
we saw it like opening day. So maybe that's part of it as well. But like Spider Man was like a merchandising machine. Like there were ads everywhere, and
Yeah.
I remember like I saw the trailer on the internet. And this was like pretty early for like watching video on the internet, like when the first, and so it was in like a box on like a website. It wasn't like full, you couldn't full screen
Full
it.
screen it.
And
Yeah.
so I remember like watching the trailer, and then I was like, I have to see this trailer like properly. But there's no way, like back then, there wasn't a way to watch it on my TV. Like there was no way to watch the trailer. I was like, I'm gonna just go to the cinema. I'm gonna like go to the because I know the trailer's out, so I'm gonna go see a big movie, and I bet I see the trailer for Spider Man. So I went and saw the Jet Li movie, The One, and the
Okay.
whole reason that I went and saw the Jet Li movie, The One, was to see the Spider Man trailer on the big screen, and I did, and I was not disappointed. I was so amped, and then I kind of like I quite enjoyed the movie The One as well, but it was the whole reason I went was to see that trailer, and I think it was maybe the first movie that I've saw more than once at the cinema too. It
Oh,
might be the first movie that I ever saw more than once because I think I took my little brother, who was like still a kid. So I saw it and then I took him to see it, and then I
okay.
think I watched it at a friend's house who had pirated it as well. In
I
that,
think
like I watched it like a few times in like a week period.
Yeah. I think the first movie I saw more than once in the theater, I saw it 8 times to be exact because my friend was obsessed with it, including a couple of times she paid for my ticket because I
I'm
didn't want
so
to
excited
go.
for what it is now.
No, no, you should not be because it was Titanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a that's like a commitment too. Like
it
there's a
is.
lot of time spent in cinema watching boats crash.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I believe at the time she saw it like 13 or 14 times in the
Yeah.
theater.
I feel like that
And
was one of the first movies though where that was kind of almost like I know people in the past had seen Star Wars multiple times and stuff like that. But like I feel like that was one of the first movies where that was almost like kind of mainstream to go see it again.
yes.
Like I know a lot of people that saw Titanic multiple times. And I mean I obviously it had the box office records for like the longest time because people did do that. Like people went your friend went with you 8 times. That's 16 tickets for
Yeah.
two people. Like that's insane. I
Agreed.
was hoping you
Agreed.
were going to say, like, I don't know what I thought you were going to say. I was hoping it was going to be like, dude, where's my car or something like that.
No, not that great. I mean, I definitely saw The Matrix. I think I saw The Matrix 3 times in theaters.
Wow. I
Um,
didn't see that till video because it
yeah.
was like, I, I feel like I knew about it, but I was still a kid, so I couldn't just go to the cinema by myself super easy at that point. And I wasn't because in Tasmania, we did year 11 and 12 was in the town, like so in the we call it a city. It's not that big, but it was where the cinema was. So then I was able to go see movies like after school and stuff. Whereas prior to that, to go to a movie, it was far enough that like my parents would have to take me. So I didn't really see movies unless it was like my birthday or like a movie that my brothers all wanted, like that we all kind of went as a family or something. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, I feel like that was also a key difference. Like Spider-Man came out in my first year of university, so I had my own money and stuff like that as
And you're
well.
like, I'm out. I gotta go see Spider-Man. Boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see Spider-Man multiple times, and then take my little brother because then it was an excuse to go again as well. So, yeah, but I just remember and just the merchandise. Like I feel like it was a big part of. I've always been into Spider-Man, but it was a big part of really getting me back into Spider-Man, like as an adult. And like you could get Spider-Man tissues, Spider-Man toothbrushes,
They had
Spider-Man like
everything.
wet wipes, anything you could possibly imagine, they had it. And that like really iconic Spider-Man art, like the like that's you'd see that same image of Spider-Man on everything with the raised webs and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool time. And like I feel like we've had big movies since, but I don't know. We haven't had a lot of movies that have hit that hard. I feel like because Star Wars did it. Star Wars, the like especially the Force Awakens probably was like that scale of marketing in the lead up to
Oh,
it.
it
But
was definitely, yeah.
yeah, but
But
there's not many
also,
others.
but I
Like
find like I know Star Wars is really big on merchandising, but I find even with like the new Star Wars movies, the merchandising wasn't great.
no, and
But
it
there
went
was
down.
like but there was
Yeah,
like a lot of hype and a lot of like trailers and a lot of posters everywhere.
yeah,
Oh, what am I talking about? Deadpool and Wolverine that just came out. That was
yeah,
crazy. That was
yeah.
crazy.
It was, but I feel like yeah, and it's a different time. So I feel like especially with TikTok and things like that, like the memes and things, and the music and the Madonna and all of that. Like it was like a cultural, definitely a cultural moment. But I don't know if it was on like, and maybe we just don't have those anymore. Like a cultural moment on the scale of like those early Spider-Man movies. Like say Force Awakens felt like it got pretty close because I was hyped for that movie, and I'm not even really a Star Wars guy, and like I was excited for that movie because I saw it in Canada because my brother-in-law was real, and he's not a Star Wars guy, he's a Star Trek guy, but he was so excited for it, and he'd like booked out a row. And he's like, "You're coming with me, right?" I was like, "Oh, definitely!" Like, I'm so excited for this. And we saw it twice together. We went and saw it the first time, and we went back and saw it before I flew back to Australia. And like I feel like that was big, and there were like the merchandise was everywhere because I remember we were there. I had like Chewbacca cereal while we were there, and some of that stuff doesn't filter down to Australia either. Like it's more of a North America thing, but it felt like that was a big moment, like Force Awakens, and I feel like they kind of fumbled the ball after that a little bit
Yeah.
with the later ones, but that first one felt like I think because there was such a great gap in between the prequels and then the next one because I also remember episode one being that scale, like
Oh,
that was
episode one was
similar
crazy.
kind of scale. And again, it had diminishing returns. I think as the later prequels came out, they were still popular, but it wasn't the event that episode one was.
Yeah, it was just about the first one is about pulling everybody in, and then we're like, we got everybody,
Yes.
so it's fine.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
we can cut back on this aspect of it.
Yeah, but Spider Man, I felt like it continued and it rose because like Spider Man 2 was obviously bigger than Spider Man 1, like way bigger. And then even Spider Man 3, while some of the critical reception was not great, and I feel like a lot of that critical reception also came later with like the internet and stuff. Like some of that initial critic stuff wasn't as um maybe as heavy, I guess. Like
Well,
it was
I think it's because like now, especially with things like Twitter and like like with Instagram and all that kind of stuff, social media in general.
yeah,
And then, you know, the quote unquote algorithm comes at you. So like you'll go online and it knows you like a thing, and this is a new thing. And then
Yeah.
it's just throwing like articles and everything about what everybody thinks about
Yes.
everything immediately.
And it
Um,
feels more artificial as well. So
yeah,
it's less exciting, I feel like, because you know it's doing that to you. It's
yeah,
not doing that to everyone. And
mhm,
so it's not like Spider-Man where you see big billboards everywhere in Times Square and everyone's having that same experience at the same time. Like, because we've gone from that big kind of that, I guess really that Spider-Man era, the early 2000s, was the end of that monoculture where we all kind of liked the same things and we all watched the same shows at the same time. And now we don't do that, right? Like now we're all so disconnected and it's a million tiny mini cultures instead of this bigger pop culture. And I wonder if we just can't have events on that scale anymore because everyone's into different stuff now. Like
yeah,
it's not, the marketing machine can't target just everyone at once. It's impossible to do that now. So
yeah.
maybe we won't get that again. But yeah, I just remember them being so big, and like especially Spider-Man 3, because like say I was in Japan, and it was, I hadn't been in Japan like that long when it came out, like maybe a few months, I guess, and there it was, that was such a huge movie there, like because Japan loves Spider-Man, like it's like a real thing where um I don't know why they just like him more than other superheroes. I think because there was that Japanese Spider-Man show back
Oh,
in the day. Maybe he has just more recognition than other like Western superheroes do. Like maybe he feels more Japanese. I'm not too sure, but like it was such a big deal there, and it's really interesting because um, I remember I saw that with my housemates and who you know and who are Welsh, and then I saw Amazing Spider-Man in Wales with those same guys. So like it was a cool thing, and like I remember seeing Amazing Spider-Man 2 with my wife Sally and saying, I feel like I should be seeing it with them, like because like Spider-Man movies became a thing with those guys. It was so weird that I saw 3 with them and then didn't see them for a few years and then saw Amazing Spider-Man with them. It was like a really cool kind of thing. Um, I guess it just shows how intertwined Spider-Man is with my life because I think you weren't quite in Japan yet when Spider-Man
no,
came out.
Spider-Man, it came out
Yeah.
in May. I looked this up just a minute ago. It came out in May, and I was not in Japan until July. So
Okay, yes,
I
just
definitely saw it in the theater, so I saw it before I came.
yeah,
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 yeah. I even think maybe it came out. Its premiere might have been slightly earlier than some other places in Japan,
yeah.
which
I wouldn't be
was like
surprised.
which was pretty cool at the time. Because, especially as a person from Australia that regularly waited like 6 months for movies. Like Hellboy, that movie, like I was reading about it in magazines and people loved it. I
Mhm.
wanted to see that movie so much, and it took 8 months or something to come
Oh
out
my
in
God.
Australia. And like that doesn't really happen anymore. And actually, sometimes we get movies a little bit early, but for the longest time, it was almost like because there was no internet, they were like, it doesn't matter. People in Australia, it doesn't matter if they get their movies 8 months later. What do they know? They don't know what movies are coming out elsewhere. But we did know. And we knew that Hellboy was good and that we were waiting. But then it backfired when Green Lantern came out because we got Green Lantern 13 weeks after everywhere else.
Yeah.
And nobody in Australia saw it because we
'Cause-
all knew it was a steam shit. So it did. I reckon it did the worst here of anywhere else because we got all of the reviews from the rest of the world. We knew it was bad, and just nobody turned up for it here. Like
No.
you guys, at least in that first week, probably got a few people that didn't know better that went along to Green Lantern. We didn't even get those here. So
Yeah, I did not pay to watch Green Lantern. I think I saw it like 5 or 6 years after it came out because I watched it on TV.
yeah,
Yeah, I was like,
same
I'm
here.
not doing this one. I'm good.
And it wasn't good.
No, it was not good. It was not good. No, not at all. Not at all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think we did a good job covering Spider-Man
Yeah,
and stuff.
we got back. We went some tangents, but I feel like we covered the key points of the Maguire stuff.
Yeah,
And everyone's seen these movies, right? Like everyone on Earth has seen these movies. So
I think so.
like,
Yeah.
um, and I'm like quite lucky because my son is into Spider-Man too. So like more recently, he likes the. Well, actually, he likes the Tom Holland Spider-Man because that was the first Spider-Man that he saw. But the first Spider-Man movie that he really watched was No Way Home. So like that was kind of his like introduction to Spider-Man in a way because I wanted to rewatch it, and that was him becoming interested in it. And so we watched it, and he really loves his favorite Spider-Man now is the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So
Really?
he liked that Spider-Man so much in No Way Home, and he's watched all of them, but he's only watched. I feel like he's only watched the Maguire ones like a couple of times, maybe once or twice. Where he's watched the first Amazing Spider-Man, he must have watched it 10 or 15 times. Like he loves it. And I think part of it is because and I actually know for a fact that he thought it was the same guy. His favorite band is Panic at the Disco. And so he's a big fan of Brendan Urie, and he because we listened to it, like I'm a fan, and so he listened to it growing up, and he got really into their music videos. And so Brendan Urie and Andrew Garfield, they look quite similar. Like they have a kind of a similar look. And I think he thought they were because he was still pretty little when we watched No Way Home. I think he thought Brendan Urie was Spider-Man. And there's also the High Hopes video where Brendan Urie walks up a building. So I think overall he was a little mixed up. But it's for whatever reason that's become his Spider-Man. Like so Andrew Garfield, as much as he loves all the Spider-Mans, and he likes the animated ones too, Andrew Garfield has become his Spider-Man. And it's so cool, I think. And this kind of goes back to like we're not just one. We don't all like the same thing anymore. Like with Netflix and streaming and all of this stuff, a kid could get into any Spider-Man. It doesn't matter whether the Spider-Man was 20 years old or not. They don't know the difference. They're just clicking on the thumbnail and picking one. And I think that's a really cool thing now, is that the kids can just be a fan of what they want to be a fan of. And that's kind of the nice flip side of we'll probably never get a Spider-Man moment again to that level is, we might not. But he can also just grow up loving a Spider-Man movie that didn't come out anywhere near when he was born and really doesn't have any significance to him. But he just loves it because he loves it. And I think that's kind of nice.
That is kind of nice. I enjoy that. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Well, thank you, Brendan, for joining me today on this episode.
I will do it anytime, let you know.
Yeah. I do put out there, and I hope that the next Spider-Verse movie is as fantastic as we're hoping it to be.
Yes.
And we also just continue to get good Spider-Man content. I'm here for
more
it.
Spider-Man games because they've been really good, and more Spider-Man like I say again. I think people are sleeping on the new Spider-Man cartoon on Disney Plus. It's really good, like way better than I was expecting it to be. Definitely, if you've missed it, because there was a lot of negativity around it when it came out. Because I don't know, people on the internet are weird and they don't like things to be different.
So weird,
but it's so good. Like I've turned on a few friends who had missed it, and they're like, I wasn't really that into it, and they're like, oh, that's really good. Like that's way better than I expected it to be. So that's my message to people that maybe haven't seen it yet. Watch that one; it's good. Or the other one you should watch that's really good if you haven't seen it is the MTV one from back in the day. It's super underrated. It's got Neil Patrick Harris as Peter Parker. It's got awkward, kind of ugly early 2000s CGI. It's kind of a sequel to Spider-Man 1. It's really fun. It's nobody saw it. I don't think anyone watched it, but it's good.
Is it this one? You said Neil Patrick Harris? Oh, yeah, there it is.
MTV Spider-Man is usually what they...
There's only 13 episodes. It came out in July 2000.
It ends on a cliffhanger. It never got a second season, so there is that problem with it. But it's... And there's some weak episodes too. There's some really weak episodes. But I really like it. It's underrated show.
Okay. Well, we'll put it out there. It's 13 episodes. People can watch this. It's fine. It's
on DVD. I don't know if you can stream it anywhere, but it is on DVD. So
it's called it's called Spider-Man: The New Animated Series. That's what it's called. Go. Yeah. All right. The Spider-Man that was not for kids, apparently, is one of the titles. Okay, that's fine.
It gets a little sexy. Oh, Michael Clark Duncan comes back as the Kingpin in it as well from Daredevil.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like It's also like there's some really bad stuff when they invent their own villains in there. Like it's not a home run, and it is quite ugly to look at. But
Okay.
but it's
Lisa,
you should.
sorry. Lisa Loeb is Mary Jane Watson. What is happening here?
It's a weird forgotten kind of remnant of the Raimi Spider-Man
Oh my
universe.
god. There are so many faces in this voice cast that you're just like, I know that guy, I know that guy. Oh,
Yeah.
that chick's in everything. Oh, I know her. Yeah, this
There's
Rob
a product.
Zombie does a voice. What is
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. It was MTV Spider-Man. It was different. It was new. It was cool and flashy, and nobody watched it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why there's only 13 episodes. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. All right, but as per usual, we'll have to get you back to talk about something else nerdy.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Um,
other movies that I like, so
oh,
I
for
think we'll
sure.
find something.
Oh my God. All right, thanks, Brendan.
Cool. See you later. Thanks
Okay,
for having
bye.
me.
Bye. Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Blue Sky at Oh My Shelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. This episode was produced and edited by me, Tracy, with original theme song by Ori Falconer. If you want to support the show, like, subscribe, and leave a comment wherever you listen to this podcast. Come back next time to see what falls off my shelf.